Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show today. Very happy to have you here. Hopefully, everybody had themselves a good weekend. I had a gale time. Can't
Oh,
use that anymore, huh?
well, you can. It just has a very, very different meaning.
Yeah, how unfortunate, you know. But it is what it is. But I know I had myself a good time. I'm going to be here and hit that like and share. Hopefully, you guys will do the same. But on my weekend, I had a double. I was busy both days, which should surprise nobody. Uh, but I did have on the Saturday, my daughter came and she brought her boyfriend to meet the grandparents. Wonderful.
Yep.
And I went pretty well. He's a really nice boy anyway. You know how really when you have those meetings, it's to see if anyone's intuition stands up, right?
Hmm.
And I was talking a little bit on the Drone a Quarter show a little bit about some of the advancements and understanding exactly the scientific mechanics behind intuition, which was pretty interesting. But
Mm.
no, this kid doesn't raise anybody's intuition whatsoever, so it's all good. But then yesterday I went and you know what I did? I bought a
Uh-oh.
new hat.
What'd you do?
I bought a new hat.
Uh-oh. What kind of hat? Explain.
It's a a driving cap or what do they call them
Sure.
Ivy League cap, I think is what they call it.
Sure.
But
I
I
know what
always
you
call
mean.
them
Yep.
driving caps. But I went and bought a nice one. Dude, it's like this velvet suede, and it has like
Ooh.
a silk, or maybe it's satin actually. Interior, red interior. It's a black hat. Oh, it's so well constructed.
Bet.
Yeah,
Bet. I
I was.
think I think we did ourselves as a society, as a civilization, we did ourselves a great disservice when we abandoned the hat.
Oh yeah,
I think we need to bring the hats back. The hats, there's just something about a man in a hat. He
yeah, yeah.
just looks more official.
No,
He
it's
looks
true.
more ready.
It is true. Absolutely. And of course, we've abandoned the hat because we have a certain thing called interior air conditioning.
Yes,
Right. I
that's
mean,
correct.
that's why we don't wear hats because you lose a lot of heat out the top of your hat, yeah, your head.
Yes.
But so I mean, it's a practical reason. It wasn't any kind of conspiracy. It's
I
just we
think
have
with
heaters.
modern technology and not LED, but the technology we use to power LED contraptions,
Mm.
I think we could come up with a way of bringing it back, and it would keep everybody nice and cool. Everybody be good. Wouldn't have to worry about it, and then we could get some fashion in this mug because I am absolutely tired of people looking like they either just went to the gym, they're going to the gym, or they just rolled out of bed, put on whatever they found on their floor, and walked outside.
It's
I don't
weird.
like it.
I don't like it either.
Get some clothes on,
Yeah, I don't like it.
folks.
I never do that. I refuse to do that. Even if I have guests, like even just family coming over, I dress.
Yeah.
Because for me, which I have on right now, I mean, I wear the kind of Everlast type of shorts, and
Mhm.
I like kind of nice quality t-shirt. It's basically my underwear slash pajamas, right? And why should I have that on around other people? It's just disrespectful.
Mm.
It is. But no, I mean, I mean, I have a sense of kind of an old world sense of fashion, I guess. I tend to wear a lot of leather.
Classics never go out of style for a
Mm.
reason.
Yeah, not jackets. I mean, I'd love to have a nice leather jacket, but I'm just not slim enough to pull it off.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
they're hard to find too. Like nice ones, you can find jank ones all over, especially in America. They
yeah.
sell them all over. Like every store has one. But I'm talking like a nice quality looking like bomber jacket or something like that.
Yeah.
They're hard to find. You have to go to specific leather shops, and if you go there, you're gonna spend some money because they're gonna
No.
charge you some money.
Yeah. No, I actually was looking into a tailor who actually made leather jackets here in Japan.
Yeah,
Japanese tailors are pretty good, by the way. Um,
yeah,
because you don't need to have tons and tons of clothing. What you need to have is a few pieces of quality clothing, is what you need.
yeah, that are
Uh,
interchangeable.
that's right. So I have several suit jackets. I don't have 10. I have like three. Right. I have some good dress shirts. I have a selection of ties. You don't have to go crazy, but you should buy good quality stuff because it does look better. But I was looking into a jacket, and it wasn't that bad. $800 for a tailor jacket. It's not
That isn't that bad.
cheap, but it's not that bad, right?
Yep.
And I just haven't pulled the because I'd like to have a nice leather jacket again, like when I was young, but I don't have the physique I had when I was young, though.
Yeah, but if you get a good tailor who knows how to, he knows how to contour and hide, the beer belly or whatever it is,
Yeah,
fix these imperfections, which a good tailor will,
yeah.
or as best as possible, depending on how fat you are, of course.
Well, I'm not. I'm,
Um,
I'm actually not that fat, but I do have a
yeah.
good
Well, my
proportion.
point is, a good tailor can solve that problem. So, for $800, it's not bad,
It's not.
especially for a
It's not.
tailor.
Yeah.
Like you can't even buy a good quality $800 jacket here. You can buy a decent, but I'm talking a good one, like one
Well,
that's going to last you 25, 30 years if you take care of it. That's going to be over $1,000, probably about anywhere.
yeah, maybe in America, especially with your inflation problems.
Yeah,
But actually, I found in my life that a tailored clothing is actually cheaper in the long run anyway. It
yeah,
is actually
classic.
cheaper. Yeah, because it lasts longer, and it just is. It fits you better. It looks better. You can choose the quality of material, and it is the way to go. I think just people are upset, especially women. They're always buying. They're always shopping. They just have closets full of crap they wear like hardly ever. But a man should be a little bit more discerning, I think. And
Mm.
honestly, you don't need a lot of clothing. You just need to have some good quality clothing that you can interchange properly. And I don't know. We were going to talk about fashion, but uh,
You brought
it,
up the hat. You
I
started it.
did, I did. But me,
I'm bringing back canes too, Chester. I've had enough of this no cane lifestyle that I've
canes are
been living.
cool. They are
I
cool.
think it's about time they come back because they're functional. You can do all sorts with a cane. One, it's obviously a cane, and that's cool. Automatically, that's just cool. Two, you can use it as a self defense tool if you need to.
It's true.
Three, you can buy canes that have all sorts of other functions, including some that will have like knives and stuff that you can store in them, or matches and all sorts. Like they have survival canes now, Chester, that are basically walking sticks.
Hmm.
Call them survival canes, and they got a whole kit inside the cane,
Yeah, I've seen
inside
them.
the long metal tube. Yeah, it's
Japanese like
awesome.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We need them. Bring them. We
Yeah.
need to bring them back. It's great. When you watch videos from even 100 years ago, and you see these people the way they're dressed, and they're not rich people; these are normal people, and they're dressed. They're walking around with their stuff. Many of them have canes or something similar they're carrying with them, an umbrella, something, and you can tell that that's a society, that's a civilization, and what we're living in now is denigrated from that.
Yeah, it does
It's
add some
just
quality,
obvious.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I do like canes myself, that's true. And of course here where I live, the most popular hobby for anyone middle-aged or older is hiking. So you see a lot
Mm,
of,
good for
hiking
you.
canes quite a bit.
Super good
Um,
for you.
yeah, well,
Good
sure,
hike.
just to move around, go get some views, look at some beautiful stuff.
Well, you get all
But
that nice nature, you get all that vitamin D.
yeah,
You're killing it out there if you're out there in the woods. There's something
yeah.
about, especially if you're hiking in a place like Japan that has a lot of mountains, a lot of mountain ranges, uh, and forests. There's something about that energy
Mhm.
that I'd say most people, if they're not a complete dullard when it comes to these things, you can feel it.
Yeah, yeah,
When
you
you're in
can.
the actual woods, when you're in the mountains, man, I love when we go down to Tennessee, I'm so happy. I'm just happy. I'm just
Sure,
happier. My
sure.
mood's elevated because I'm surrounded by mountains. And I'd imagine, as I think as you get older, that feeling gets stronger, it seems to me.
Maybe.
Because I know when I
Yeah.
was younger I didn't have that same experience. I went in all sorts of mountains, whatever, it's a mountain, who cares? But nowadays, yeah. If I go
Yeah.
down to some mountains, I get up at the top of a mountain. Oh,
It feels
oh,
good. Breathe some air.
it
Another
does.
thing that's important, a lot of people these days don't get to experience that. The older people who spend a lot of time outside, kind of naturally, we know it naturally, is what I guess the common term would be power spot, right?
Mm,
But really,
mm,
all that is scientifically is minus ion, right? Minus ions.
yeah.
Positive ions make us feel dreary and sleepy. That's why you don't like rainy days. But if you have a minus ion effect going on, it makes your body feel great. And of course, where do you find these places? Well, you find them in places where you have combination of nature and water moving and stuff like that. Not water falling and inundated around you, but moving, right? And of
Right.
course, every place in the world has those. And this is traditionally where people would build temples and stuff. The interesting thing about the power spot effect is the ancient peoples all over the world. Uh, they had the technology where they could build their temples. They could build power spots.
Hmm.
They had
Yep.
the knowledge of
I've
how
been in
to
them.
make it, right?
I've been in them.
Yeah, sure.
And there's one in Caesarea. I've been in it when I was in Israel.
Yeah.
Uh, there's no way to explain it. It's like the best way I can explain it is like when you walk into a room and it's one of these rooms that's real staticky, but not in like a bad way. Like
Hmm.
you can just feel the energy. And yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely,
No, it's a
100% when
real
I was
thing.
there, I felt it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just minus ion. That's all it is. It's a negative ion
yeah.
effect. But they and the ancient people knew how to construct it. Now you could say, well, they didn't really know the science of it. Who gives a shit? Who
They
cares?
knew
They
if they
knew it
put this
worked.
here, that would happen. That's all they knew. So they put that there and that happened. And like,
And
"Oh, see?
it's
It
better,
works."
right? It kills me with so many people in the because there's a lot of conspiracy theories, and then those who will
Yeah.
fight against it, right? But it's like,
Yep.
some things are technological, some things are psychosomatic. Like for instance,
Mhm.
if you go to your priest, well, I don't care what your religion is, right? In the older religions, not the modern ones. In the older religion, you go to your priest and you say, I'm feeling bloated. I put some weight on. I don't feel great. You know what the priest would tell you? He would say, well, go climb the mountain to that shrine over there,
Yep.
and walk around it 9 times and do this chant to
Yes.
this god and do that for a
Yep.
month, and the god will bless you. Now, what is the priest doing? He's telling you to go frickin' exercise,
Yeah,
right?
go for a walk, fatty. That's what he's telling
That's
you.
what he's telling you. And you know what? It works.
Yep.
Right? And there are many things that connected to religion that are psychosomatic. Yes,
Yes.
good. There's nothing wrong with
Yes.
that. But there's also
Well,
technology that can be used in our benefit as well. And
yes.
boy, imagine if we rediscover, and I'm sure we could do it if we put the money behind it. But imagine if we
Yeah.
started building power spots again, right?
That'd be amazing.
Imagine, hey, you're having a bad day,
Amazing.
just go over to the temple, have a seat, just take some breath and relax for an hour.
Yeah.
You'll feel better,
Chill out.
right?
Chill out in there. Sing a song. Just chill out.
Yeah,
Just relax, right? Just chill out. And
chill
that's what
out.
I think a lot of religious rituals are derived from.
Yeah,
It was really just chilling people out because in a lot of like in like Orthodoxy and Catholicism and stuff, they'll walk around with the censers full of incense, spread it around, da 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 da.
mhm,
Well, in some places they would put weed in
yeah.
those censers and walk
Sure.
around and spread them around. And
Drugs? Yeah.
what they're doing is not so much to I mean, it does drug you, but the idea is to calm you down,
Yeah.
to bring your mood down, to
Mhm.
bring your emotions down, and that is allows you to just one relax because most I would say, if I'm going to be completely honest about it, when we talk about things like sin, most sin is caused by being excited. You do not sin very often when you're calm. You sin very often when your emotions are going,
Yeah,
right? It's an
that's
emotional
true.
response.
Yeah.
So they would get you to calm down and think, and then largely propagandize you, but still, they get you to calm down and think, and that would help you with your sin, with your problem, whatever it is. So these simple rituals that they would tell you, they would say, well, you're using the word psychosomatic. That sounds to me a lot like faith. Sounds very similar to the concept of faith.
It's just
And as
placebo
long as
effect,
you
right?
just have, yeah, as long as you have the faith that this will work, it will, because your belief can make it more realistic than you realize, especially if it's for simple things like gas, basically. I got gassed, priest.
Right.
I've been having this. I've been eating too much. Like, well, all right, go for a walk. Say this prayer. Do this every day for a week. I bet you feel better. Okay. And guess what? They felt better. And
Yeah.
it's because they have faith in the priest, that the priest is, divine or of whatever, has divine power, and or at least some form of connection to the divine. And they go do it, And guess what? They actually got better. So I would say
Yeah.
I say you're correct. The
Oh yeah.
modern interpretation of a lot of things, I say it all. I've been saying this for years. I think spirituality is just psychochemistry or psychology we don't understand yet. That's all it is. Just like how magic is science we don't understand yet, that's all it is. And as soon as we start to get better understanding of the way the brain, functions, even if we don't know why it functions that way, just the processes of it, of the
Yeah.
mind, will start to bridge these gaps. And we've already done this. Like they can trigger with that's what LSD and stuff was invented for, was to try and trigger spiritual experiences. And according to people who've done it,
It's like
it
it's
can.
DMT. It's just a synthetic version,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And but my point is, I think that's the only real gap there is it's just what we don't understand yet. The reason why people, and you can find, and I have some of my own personal life, infinite accounts of people who prayed for a thing and that thing happened. And there's no real explanation other than, well, maybe it was going to happen anyway. Okay, fine.
Mhm.
But to that person, they got what they asked for, right? They needed something, whatever it is. Say, in my personal instance, we needed a new furnace in our house and we couldn't afford it at the time. My mother prayed for it. She went to the church, asked them to pray about it.
Mhm.
And the net, like 2 days later, my father's old buddy calls him up. He said, "Hey, my HVAC school is looking for a house to put a furnace in. Would you guys want one?" Boom, free. I'm
Yeah.
not even kidding. Completely free furnace.
Yeah.
I said, "What?"
Well, that's called
That was
networking.
crazy.
Um, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
But my
No. I
point
mean,
is, that kind of stuff happens,
it does.
and whether or not it was because of the prayers or that was coincidence is largely immaterial in the real world, because in the real world, my mother asked the church to pray for her and it happened.
Yeah, it did.
That's what
Yeah,
happened.
and this is one of the great things about community and interactions, because who knows what kind of comments might have came up because of it, right?
Yep.
But I mean, you have that effect. Of course, the psychosomatic effect is real. You also have all kind of cymetics, like with sound, right? Now,
Oh yeah.
this is a study where we are in modern world, we're way behind, but we're starting to catch up. But the ancient people understood things a lot better than we did. And once again, it isn't like they, because a lot of people, when you say that, are like, oh, aliens or the super hyper technology. No, no, no. They just understood it worked. They probably didn't know why, but it did. Like, for instance, we find electricity in the ancient world all over the place,
Yep.
right? Now, what were they doing with it? Well, they found that that when they created electrical batteries, this is very low voltage, right? Very low voltage. But they found that when they would have this low voltage electricity running through their body, it would make them feel better, right? So in the Middle East, what did they do? And in Egypt as well, they had these like batteries, the Baghdad battery. You find them in Egypt too, and they would bury
Yep.
them in sand, and then you go get buried yourself, and there's this low current moving through the sand, and you know what? It made you feel better. If you go to like India or some places in the Middle East and Asia, you would go and they'd have these little lintels, and the water would be dropping on top of it, right? Would be poured on top of it, and there'd be this bucket of sand. And in the bucket of sand, it's got copper wires and metal plates and all these kind of things. And what it's doing is creating a very low, and then they're still there today, by the way. They create this very low voltage electricity. You put your hands in it, and if you do that with the Indians, they do it in cycles of 40 days. But if you go do that every single day for 40 days, it will fix a lot of things you got going on, right?
Yep.
Electrical therapy. They used to
Yep.
do this all the time. They just understood like sound. Why do you think all over the world, no matter what priesthood they have this
Yeah.
that sound you find everywhere, right? Because that sound, when reverberating off the right type of rocks, creates a cymetic effect upon your body that is soothing and healing. It
Yep.
just is, right? And we all know when we hear a certain sounds like music, it does have a healing effect. And the thing that kills me is the ancient people understood this. Like I said, they didn't necessarily know why, but then again, we still don't know why. They just know it
Correct.
worked,
We have no idea. We have
right?
no idea.
And they just
We
built
pretend
things.
like we do, 'cause we do that thing right there. We falsify things. We test and test and then, "Okay, that works. We'll just do that." "Well, why'd that work?" "I don't know. Keep doing that. Who cares? That works.
That
Keep doing
works.
that." And
Um,
that's how things happen
that's
right there.
right. And they were trying to calm and soothe the population and make people better. Why? For peace and happiness. And
And
a
they
lot
didn't
of
want
people
war.
misunderstand things like temples. These days, so many people scoff at it. But a temple or a church or whatever is your center, they're not just priest places. Those are places throughout history where you got educated. They're places where you
Yep,
went healing, you went for counseling, you went for debates.
yep,
Everything in town happened at the temple. It was the center
that's right.
of the world for your community. And now that's
It was
another
the
thing we've
bank
gotten away
in a
from.
lot of
It
places.
was a bank, yeah,
Like,
sure.
yeah,
Well, one of the biggest ones, and this one kills me, is the Parthenon in Athens. Everyone's like, "Oh, that beautiful temple over there." It's not a temple; it's a freaking bank vault.
it's a giant bank.
It's a giant bank vault. Literally, that's what they built it for. But I'm just saying that the older cultures, I'm not saying they wasn't bad things happen. Of course there were, but there was an attempt by the government, the authority, to create situations that help to heal the population and make them feel better. There was an attempt toward it, and we don't see any of that going on now. Name one
Mm.
government person who actually wants to make people just simply feel better. Name one.
Uh, in America, I don't think I can. I
In the
don't think that
world.
person exists.
No, they don't,
In the
because we
world,
live in a
it's
broken
tougher.
system. That's why,
Yeah,
right? Now,
we
like I
live in a
said,
selfish system,
we do, and
utterly
I'm not saying they
selfish.
weren't selfish rich people in the past. Of course they were, but that's not the point. We used to think differently. Things were more
Yep,
chilled out. Things were much more relaxed than they are now. And the thing, and this isn't magic. Now they might would have called it magic back in those days. The priesthood wanted to get
sure.
paid. Now I guarantee you they did that. But it's
Yep,
not actually magic. It's just science, and
just sound.
it's just sound, yeah, and and creating a like I said, the negative ion effect. It's a real thing, and I'm just saying, why can't we? Obviously, we don't have the technology right now, although someone probably does. I'm sure if you go ask a Mason, a high level one,
Mm,
but we have the ability to rediscover that. We can certainly do that, and I
yep.
really would love to see it come back.
Well, we have all the buildings. I mean, the Roman ones especially,
Yeah, they're
and
still
some of the
around.
Egyptian ones. They're
Yeah,
still there.
yeah,
Why does it work? Why do you feel that when you walk in? Why are these amphitheaters that were supposedly designed by primitives? That's the story we're told. Yet they have better acoustics than anything we could do today. It's in
yeah.
with no
Mhm.
no electricity, no machinery, nothing. You just stand there and talk, and everybody can hear you.
Everybody can hear you. Of course,
Why?
it's just the ancient knowledge of how
Yes,
they did things, and we have microphones today, but they had what they had. But it's more than that. There's a guy who he and his little team went around and they put stuff on the YouTube so you can find. I can't remember his name, but his team went around to all the cathedrals in Europe. Well, most of them. I mean, literally, well over 100 of them. And all they did was simply go into the cathedral, set up their microphone equipment, and they started making various sounds like claps, om, the chanting sound, and various other sounds. And they recorded it. And of course, we can take sound and make it and visualize it, right? And
right.
the ancient people could do that as well. And you say, oh, how could the ancient people visualize sound? Well, quite simply, what they would do is take a granite box that was open on the top. They would stretch animal skin tight over it. They would put something that was of an equal grain, like a sand or salt, usually is what they used. And then they would produce the om sound or language sounds, and the vibration would cause, if you were in a properly echoing room, like say the king's chamber in the pyramid as an example,
Yep.
the salt would take on shape, right? So that's how they did
Right.
it. How did they discover it? I don't know, probably in a cave by accident, just like everything else, right?
Yeah.
But they
They
understood
stumbled
this.
upon it.
They stumbled upon it,
Yep.
and this is some way that they were able to see sound. So if you here's the interesting little thing showing you they know what they were doing, because there is sound effects that make people calm and feel better, and cathedrals are built that way. And they would take the om sound that any choir or any priest or any chanting will affect. They all have that all around the world. They make sure they make that sound because it's a universal technology. And they were looking at all these pictures that they were getting out of the sound. And the interest, you know what the interesting correlation they had that was just absolutely shocking was when
Mm,
you look at that ohm sound, especially when it was being done by multiple voices, which is what you always hear, right? It's always several
yeah,
men usually making that ohm, that deep baritone ohm sound, right? They found that it would create these beautiful shapes, of course, but then, and of course, their technology is better than the old skin over a box, with salt on top. It's much more detailed. But the interesting thing about it was when they looked at that picture and they looked up to the rows in the stained glass rows in each cathedral, they were
yeah,
identical.
yeah,
So the people who built those cathedrals, after they're done, they went and tested the sound shape of the building, and then they built the stained glass to match it. That's real.
yeah,
That's real.
yeah,
That's not conspiracy theory. That's not nonsense. It's scientifically right in your face. And they understood that sound was soothing to us to calm you
yeah,
down, and in some cases, it can be quite healing, right? But I mean, just
yeah,
to show you these ancient cathedrals that were built hundreds, if not 1,000 years ago, some of them, right? They had the ability to see sound and relate it, right? I mean, that's
right.
pretty cool, you ask me. And you
Yeah.
don't study that in your history book, do you?
Well, they had a deeper relationship with forces that, for some reason, modern civilization has. Now, I wouldn't say abandoned, but went such a different route towards that they functionally have abandoned. So one is
Yeah,
vibration.
yeah,
We're just now starting to understand on a scientific level how powerful vibration is as a force in the universe. And well, we are. Tesla understood it 100 years ago, but everybody
yeah,
else
yeah.
is just catching up. Uh, because it's kind of the only force in the universe. Like that's it. Its vibration is effectively a representation of every other or everything, every force, everything. Because it is that's how important it is. Everything has a frequency, everything vibrates at a frequency. The hippies who talk about their vibration.
Sure,
As annoying as hippies are, they're not wrong.
they're not
That's
wrong. Yeah,
correct.
and
Yeah.
do keep in mind, Tesla spent a lot of time in cathedrals studying them.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Because he understood some for some reason, and he didn't know why. He even said he doesn't know why he has this understanding of the universe. He just felt like his words were he feels like a receiver of this wisdom. That's what he
maybe
would
he
say.
was. Yeah,
And
the
I think
Akashic
and maybe
record
he
could
was.
be real.
And he just for whatever reason, he just became obsessed with those three things: vibration, frequency, and can't remember the other one. But those three things, and he just that's what he's devoted his entire scientific life to. And now, yeah, I get it. He
Sound.
ended up broke and poor. Yeah, sound in general. He ended up broke and poor, and blah 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 blah. But that was largely because he made the wrong enemies, not because he was wrong.
That's true because
Uh,
he didn't get on board. But
yes,
yeah, the interesting thing about his death, the landlady found him, which was like the only person he had in his life at all toward the end. She called the police because
right.
he was dead, and of course the police never showed up. By the way,
Hmm.
who did show up, clearly, therefore they were monitoring it, was the American government. They cleaned everything
That's right.
out and didn't even bother with his body. She had to call a second time to get the police to come and pick up his body.
Yep.
That's the reality. There you
He was
go.
made pariah
He was. That's
because
your
he was.
government working
Honestly,
for
the
you.
only reason why that would happen is if he was too close to the truth. That's it. Because even if he was just a quack and wrong, they wouldn't treat him like that. Nobody would. But because he was whoever is running the world at the time, he pissed them off.
He did.
They treated him like he was subhuman,
Well,
and
I think his
that's why he
biggest
was treated.
mistake was with Morgan, and J.P. Morgan, of course, had a lot of power and wealth and influence, and he basically showed, well, we can take electricity straight out of the sky. We don't need all of these engines and stuff. It's completely nonsense. And J.P. Morgan was elated, right? And oh, this great, it's going to make me so much money, and he's like, oh no, I'm going to give it free.
Yeah, let's
And
do this
J.P.
free.
Morgan
What?
shut it down immediately, right?
Yeah.
Um, but
Well,
just
it's
keep
it's
that in mind.
interesting because think about it for a second. So when it comes to things that change the world, like inventions, discoveries, whatever you want to call it, that changed. humanity, changed our entire species. There's a few things right around that same time that really started to kick off. You had fertilizer, that was a big one.
Yep.
You had electricity, obviously, that's a huge one.
We all
And
use
then
Tesla's
long
electricity.
distance, everybody, long distance communication
Yep.
is the other one.
Radar.
Uh, all of those came right around roughly that same time,
Yep.
about 30, 40 years apart. And the reality of it is, the re- as evil as it was that they did that,
Hmm.
because I think Tesla was right. I think that's why they shut him. They couldn't let him get out his information or whatever.
That
They
may
couldn't
be.
let him prove himself correct again because he already did it to him once and fucked them all up. Because if they had gotten the way they wanted it, everything would be more expensive when it comes to electricity in this country and the world. But because he proved how stupid and wrong they all were, and they didn't like it,
No.
they couldn't let him do it twice. They couldn't deal with the humiliation of losing to this weirdo twice, so they destroyed him.
That may be.
Uh,
Yeah.
and I think he would have been proven right in the end. And the reason why I think that is people say you can't get electricity from the sky. The fuck do you think lightning is?
Yeah. No, he built that tower. It's well
Yeah.
documented. But it's more than that. I mean, in these days, you if you have a microwave, you thank Nikola. You if you use
Yep.
a cell phone of some kind, thank him. I mean, so many of the
Yep.
things in our modern world is coming out of Nikola Tesla. You just don't know it. But
Yep.
one of the things I think is funny because I do love conspiracy theories. We all know this here. I think they're
Yep.
great entertainment to me.
They're a good
But
time.
and the ones that are the most fun right now are the Tartarian guys. And I do love their videos because boy, they do dig. Those autists, man, they dig. And they find some great information. I especially love the old photographs; they're really good. But one of the things I'm surprised they haven't picked up on yet is some of the conversations that interviews that were with Tesla in regards to his study of cathedrals,
Mm,
because he posited that cathedrals originally were built as like his tower. That's where he said he got the idea. That the
right.
cathedrals were really his electrical tower, were a way to bring electricity down. Now, I don't know if that's true. That's what Tesla thought. But I'm just surprised the Tartarians haven't picked up on that yet because I haven't heard him mention it yet. But
Hmm.
it's
We'll
not
get
that
there.
every single theory he had was necessarily true.
So
But it certainly
no,
set
no,
him
no.
in
Of course
interesting
not.
areas.
He was still a human person.
Yeah.
He still got things wrong. But I genuinely think the idea that because it just doesn't make any sense to me how people can say that, and then out of the other side of their mouth, we'll talk to astronomers and things who will say things like the ionosphere and the atmosphere are bombarded by basically near infinite levels of radiation and energy all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, why can't we harness that?
Yeah.
There's got to be a way. There has
Yeah.
to be a way. The planet disperses it so it doesn't hit us. So where's it going? There's
Yeah.
got to be a way for us to harness that, but they don't even want to attempt it because you see
Well,
the
this is why
powers
you've
that be
never
don't
had a
want
man
that.
on Mars openly,
Yeah.
because how what kind of tin can you got to build is going to keep that off of them,
Yes.
right?
All that
Um,
distance for that
yeah,
far to go
yeah,
that far. Yeah.
for months and months.
Yeah.
But let me go ahead and read the chat here real quick. Catch up. Roger says, "I think you bought a fedora, not a hat, Chester." No, I mean, if I could find a good quality fedora, I would buy one.
You'd
Especially for
rock
my
it.
suits. For a good suit, fedora works perfect. Let's see, tailgate fashion. Roger says, if you're going to get a jacket, Chester, you have to have a members only. I don't know what that is.
Members only jacket. It's a type of jacket. That's all.
Okay, it's a style or a company.
I believe it's a style. Let me double check myself, but I'm pretty sure.
Not really sure. I like this three-quarter leather jacket. To be honest with you. It's my favorite type. Dave says my fashion options decreased significantly when I had to move to SWFL. I don't know what that means. Southwest Florida. They're more like body-shaped swept rags than cloths. Yeah, well, that is fair. Environment does affect you.
Yep.
Dave says I've been rocking a cane for 15 years. Got it at the that Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair. Yeah, those are fun. I used to do SEA
Excellent.
stuff. Members only jacket.
Excellent.
What does it look like?
It's just a. I'll just show you a picture of it. That'd be easier, wouldn't it? Wouldn't
It
that
would
just
be.
be
It
easier?
would
Hang on,
be.
let me see if I can get one that'll work.
Dave says,
Copy image.
like a man
Drop
in
it
a
right in the chat.
mountainside. Uh,
According to Google.com, that
yeah.
is a members only jacket.
Oh, I got
So
to go to the Discord
Google.com.
here. Let me see.
Yeah.
That's not my style, Roger. That's definitely not my style. Yeah, yeah. I like tighter, sleeker things. I don't like fake material
Loose.
grasping my wrists. I like natural materials.
Yeah,
Let
I can't stand tight wrists either. That's one of the things I
Yeah, I'm not a big
that's one
fan.
of the reasons why it's so hard to find a good leather jacket here because most of them are like that, and I hate that.
Yeah, I
I'd
don't
much
like
rather
it. Yeah.
have the free wrists.
Yeah, no, no, no. I don't like that kind of stuff. But Dave says that Roger says to Dave, I know now what borax is. Yes, well, we explained it to you, and yes, everyone should have that in their home. It is useful. Like a man in the mountainside, greatness waits for those who try. None can teach you. It's all inside. Just climb. Yeah, well,
Mm,
hiking is fun. You mean okay? I know these are odd. These are in context what we said at the moment. I know
mm.
someone. It's Putin. That's who. Okay. Um, Dave says our hearts are filled with metal and masters. We have none, and we will die for metal. Metal heals my son. Fair enough.
He's
Um,
apparently just decided to write an entire metal album in the
yeah,
chat over
that's
there,
good.
David.
Yeah. Radar was great on MASH. He was, Dave.
He was
Members
one.
only jacket isn't a style, it's a lifestyle. Okay, thank you, Alan. Eric says Fedora. Check out hats in the Belfry. Good quality hats. Yeah, no, I've seen a
That's
couple.
true.
I should have a nice fedora for my suits because I usually don't do the fedora with it, but there are moments where a fedora would be nice. But Eric, I keep my wardrobe very tight. I don't. I'm pedantic. If you haven't noticed, and
No.
yes,
You?
me, yeah, I have a very tight wardrobe. But
Yeah,
I have precisely three hats.
yeah.
Yes.
More than me. I have
Hmm.
precisely one. It's a Detroit Tigers baseball cap that I bought when my father was still alive. Right, I didn't know this was right before he was gonna die, but I bought it because me and him and my wife went to a Tigers game,
Uh,
and I bought it for that game, right, just to have a hat, and yeah, and he died months later. So there's that.
Nostalgia. Yeah, you are
Yeah.
breaking up. You might want to drop in, drop come back in real
Well,
quick. You're roboting
hang
a
on.
bit. But yeah, I'm not really a fan of baseball caps myself, but of course there's nostalgia attached to that. I've never been a baseball cap guy. Alan says you can only wear a members only jacket if you score 4 touchdowns in a single game. Well, I'm not Al Bundy, so
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
who is?
yeah,
Let's
that's
be
true.
honest. There's only
That's
one
fair.
level of greatness at that. Only one who can be at that level of greatness,
That's
and it
true.
was him.
It was him. It was him. He saved Christmas multiple times. Uh,
He did.
Dave says, those are Manowar lyrics. Yes, I know. Their singer, Eric Adams, is still screaming his lungs out live, and he's pushing 72 years old. Yeah, no, I know. Heavy metal. It's really weird when you go listen to a lot of heavy metal lyrics. Now there are some of them who are really, really into the Satanist shtick. There are a few, but most of them actually aren't at all. And what they're
No.
preaching is mainly freedom.
Yeah.
It is interesting how
Or
metal
just
is,
straight Christianity.
or
They just
straight,
couch it in other
like
things.
Twisted Sister, right? I That was so dumb by Al Gore's wife there. What was her name? Tipper,
The old
Tipper
Tipper.
Gore. Uh,
Tipper.
and she was going off on
God.
Twisted Sister, and of course Dean Schneider showed up to frickin' Congress and laid it out.
Uh,
I mean, so
yeah.
dumb. It's like maybe you should read the lyrics first before making an accusation. Because
No,
Twisted
that
Sister, all their
can't be.
lyrics are about healing and helpful, good stuff. They're actually a very wholesome band, oddly enough.
Yeah.
When you look at them the way they look, but that's all theater. It's like frickin', Alice Cooper, man. It's pure theater because he's a genuinely wholesome and happy and nice human being, right?
Devout Christian. Well,
He's a
last I knew.
preacher, even. Yeah. All
Yeah.
that's later in his life, but he's always been a nice guy.
Yeah. Good dude. He's a good dude. He just plays a
Mm,
bad guy on stage. That's all.
that's right. And even if you pay attention, what is he talking about? He's talking about freedom, right?
Right.
And but with that in hand, you also get the Motley Crues of the world, and those guys were the literal embodiment of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Literal. They took that way too literal. Those guys. I'm surprised any of them are even alive, especially
I
Nikki. How in the hell is
yeah,
Nikki still walking? I don't know
I
because he
don't
has
know.
died clinically twice from heroin overdose. Twice, not once, twice.
I'm just saying, maybe after one, Lewis, we'll give you one. You get one mulligan, but two,
Yeah,
just saying.
no.
I think at some point we just gotta be like, all right, let's just let's see what nature does here. Let's just let
Yeah.
old Mama Nature handle this one.
That's right. But the interesting thing, of course, I knew this because I grew up with Motley Crue. But they had they Dirty something or another. They came out with a rockumentary that was authorized by Motley Crue, which I was a bit surprised because it showed their shittiness quite openly in it. It's interesting how honest they allow the documentary team to be. Now it's a rockumentary, so therefore it's like actors portraying it as a documentary, right? Which those are fun. But that Motley Crue rockumentary that came out, it was pretty interesting. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's not bad. Like I said, I was surprised because that was authorized by the band, and I was surprised how honest they were allowed to be because it
Hmm.
shows their shit, man. And those guys were not living the best life, man.
Yep. You know what I also did this week, Chester? I mentioned it. We're streaming Drawn and Quartered. I did watch Joe Rogan and Cat Williams talking
You
about
said,
conspiracy
yeah,
stuff. Yeah. And all this stuff. And it's a fantastic stream because Mr. Williams, he's a learned man. Mr. Williams has done some reading because he knows he sounded like you. No joke. Straight up like you. He was talking about he goes, all the old writings, all of them agree. They all agree when you actually read them. And I was like, well, I've heard that before. He said they're all talking about how we were brought here by someone else, or someone else came down, and this and that, and our genetics are stapled together, and all like just everything. He was going in on old Joe Rogan. I highly recommend if you haven't watched it, watch it. I think you especially will enjoy it.
hmm
Um, and Cat's a funny guy when he wants to be, and Joe's obviously can be funny too.
sure.
But he was Mr. Williams has done some reading. I believe him now because he had made the claim that he'd read like thousands of books when he was a kid because that's all he was allowed to do. He grew up in a super religious house,
Well,
and the only
comedians
thing he was
have to
allowed
be
to
well
do,
read and smart.
yeah, was read. And he also made the claim that when he was super young, he was like college level, uh, because he was just that's all he did all day was just read. That's all he was allowed to do was read books. He wasn't allowed to watch TV or really
Yeah.
even do anything else. So he just read books. And he said, "Yeah, when I read all this stuff, and it just all kind of was saying the same thing.
hmm
Like when you actually stop and think, when you take away you know, the particular phrasing and just understand what they're saying, it's saying the same stuff."
Yeah.
And it was very enlightening. It was very interesting that a man at his level, as far as especially in comedy, uh, has that much knowledge on the way the world's actually works and the way the world has
Mm.
actually worked and how much of our
Well, he's
history is
also
well.
seen the underbelly of it,
non-
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and he knows. And he straight says that Hollywood isn't entertainment. Hollywood's propaganda. Always has been, and he's been in multiple. He's been in like 60 movies, so he understands exactly what's happening around him in a way that I was very shocked because when I watched him do a different interview where he said that he had read thousands of books when he was really young,
Yeah.
and nobody, a bunch of people didn't believe him. Like, there's no way he had to read like 3 books, 3 or 4 books a day, or da da da. He's like, yeah, that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
And then he just starts dropping just hard knowledge, the kind of stuff that you don't get from actual textbooks, the kind of stuff you get from source material books that they put into the textbooks, right? The
Right.
kind of stuff they don't put in the textbooks because, it doesn't mesh with the narrative. So it gets left to the side. It gets put over here, popped right here, and then that's what everybody else goes off of. But if you go and find the old writings or the old, whatever, old documents, you get sometimes a completely different picture than what the textbook gave you.
Oh,
or the
textbooks are
encyclopedias give you.
worthless. They're
Yeah,
ridiculous. It's just
yeah,
propaganda, cultural propaganda. And I don't necessarily, you know, I disagree wouldn't be the proper word. I don't I understand why they do it.
mhm,
Because ultimately a government wants you to be nationalistic and patriotic,
mhm,
right, toward the country. But the textbooks you get in school are propaganda. They definitely are. And as
yeah,
far as how many books you can read in a day, I mean, there are two ways to read a book. One
yeah,
is just for enjoyment, and in this case, it could take you days to read a book. You're just
right,
enjoying the book. There's another way to read books, and I was lucky because I read about it when I was young and I used that technique. But there's a college technique. I forget what they call it, but it has a name. But basically, what you do when you're reading, and this is in English, it doesn't apply to other languages, it's for English, although it might. Um, Basically, what you do is drop all the particles, right? And only
right,
read words, just words, because your subconscious is way smarter than you are. And your
yeah,
subconscious, when you if you flash a page to someone, more than likely they didn't glean any information from it, but your subconscious did, right? So if you just read the words, therefore you can read something much quicker. Your brain is picking up all of the ands, ifs, I's, and buts,
right,
right?
yep,
And if you read in this way and you kind of train yourself on that, college kids do it all the time because we have a lot to read.
mhm,
You can get through. I think my maximum was 4 books in a day,
yeah,
but that's not
yeah,
fun. There's no joy
no,
there. It
no. One of
sucks.
the other tricks I learned, because I was actually, when I was really, really young, they thought I had trouble reading. They thought I was actually remedial in, and they put me in the little class. It was like kindergarten, first grade. They put me in the little side class to try and help me.
Mhm.
And then the teacher there, because they actually, sit down and watch you, realized that I wasn't struggling to read. My eyes were going, or my brain was going faster than my eyes, and it would make me get confused because I didn't realize that I could just skip. Right, I didn't have to read every single really, because how they teach you to go real slow and one at a time. Blah, 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 blah. Well, my
Right.
brain didn't work that way. My brain was already way over here while my eyes were back here, and or vice versa, whatever. And it would screw me up because I thought I was doing it wrong. So I'd get insecure and then I'd mess things up. When the teacher showed me, no, it's okay, just keep going. And he was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you're fine. You're actually,
That's good, Alan.
I don't remember his words, but you're way ahead, basically." Uh, and I realized that some people just can do that. Some people just have, they can go, like, I can still do what you said when you flash a page. If especially if I'm not distracted or tired, or if I'm in, like, let's learn something mode, I can pretty well do that. I can look at a
Yeah.
page, pop, 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 real fast, absorb the information, let my back of my brain process it while I start gathering more. And it can lead you to make mistakes sometimes, because sometimes people write very dense and you can't really skip around like that. But
Oh no, that's true.
not
That's
always.
true.
Not
Yeah.
always. I'd say more often than not, people aren't as anywhere near as smart as they think they are, or they're intentionally writing down,
True.
so people can read it.
And especially if you're doing it like for college study, you're reading academic stuff. It works very
Yep.
well for that. If you're reading something that's full of metaphor, it can be less useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll get
Um,
confused. You're like,
you
what?
you can.
What?
But anybody can try it. You guys should try it. Go find
Yeah.
some kind of history book or something like that, and
Yep.
just ignore all the particles and little things. Just only read actual words. You'd be surprised how much of it you pick up.
Yep.
It's a quick
The
way
other
to
one
get
you
through
can
it.
do is like he's saying, you basically just skip in words, and that's what my brain. I was just doing it naturally. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to be, or they told me I wasn't supposed to be, so that's what I thought I was doing it wrong. Uh, and it's just something that you can learn, and it's really not as hard as it sounds. Once you get it down, you realize how much time we waste in our language just to be precise. But if you got a, your subconscious will figure it out more often than not, if
Hmm.
with the imprecision. And guess what? If you don't think it will, it does it all day, every day for you.
Yeah, it
All
does.
day, every day, it's figuring nonsense out that you don't understand. This is
Yep.
why one of the reasons why people think they see ghosts. Oh, I saw a ghost. Did you though, or did you see a shadow move the wrong way, and your brain was like, "Hey, what's that? That looks like a ghost." And you didn't ever put it together that it was a shadow, because the back end of your brain, your computer, got a little confused because
Yeah.
it caught it off guard,
Yeah.
and you didn't use your frontal cortex to figure out the data. You can do that in reverse too.
You
You
can.
can take data and just shove it in there and let that back part of your subconscious just figure it out. It'll parse it out for you,
Roger.
and then you'll have it when you go to look for it. It's
Yeah.
really cool how interesting how the
Yeah, no.
brain is basically like it's basically like a combine,
Yeah.
like a big combine out there just sucking up corn, right?
Yeah, no, it
And then
is.
later you go back and process it, and you get
Yeah.
your actual corn,
And
you
this is what
shuck it and
dreams are
whatever.
doing, actually.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but no, your brain has three aspects to it, and I'm not talking about the automatic functions like with the reptilian brain. As I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your actual human, sapiens, right? You
yeah.
have three parts. You have yourself, which is the dumbest part,
That's right.
right? You have your automatic part, which we call the subconscious, and it's just a computer. It's way smarter than you are. It's way faster than you are, but it's an
Yep.
automatic computer that keeps everything functioning. But it's also incredibly dumb because it doesn't wonder. It just functions as it was programmed, right? But the third one is the interesting thing, and that's where a lot of research is going into. And I talked about it a little bit last week. Is your mirror neurons, and I
Mm,
won't go so deep into it, but I'll just on the surface level. What the mirror neuron is doing, these neurons in your brain, and these things are actually beyond your brain. They're part of the electrical field that you display, right? But what these things are doing is they're looking at all the stuff that the automatic system, the subconscious is doing, and your dumbass, awake self. It's looking at all those things, it's taking all that data, and it's making assumptions, which is weird. You would think that would be very harmful, and well, it is. But the mirror neurons are basically constantly making these assumptions about ideas and thoughts you have. So when you take these three things and you put them together, this is you. This is what you are.
mm,
And it is pretty interesting the more we start to understand it. And especially with the neuron, the mirror neurons are interacting with the world around you, not just you. They're also interacting with the people you're talking to and things like that. And like I said, they've discovered that this is what intuition is. It's actually the mirror neurons interacting with the neurons of the person you're talking to and making assumptions, right? This is why we there's certain people that just freak us out when we're near them, right?
yep.
Like someone who is a sociopath. Right now, I know we've
Mm.
made that joke about me on here, but I'm nowhere near a sociopath. But if you meet a real one, you feel uncomfortable around them, right?
Yeah,
And what is it? Well, it's your mirror neurons are seeing that they don't have emotional function, and it
mm,
is giving information back to you that something's wrong with this human. It's dangerous, right?
yep.
So it's really cool what they're starting to discover with these things, and I really suggest you guys go out and do some study on your own about what's happening in that field because it's fascinating. Certainly is.
Speaking about things that are happening in fields, that's a horrible segue, but we need to get to it.
Uh,
I and our good friend, Mr. Adrian, and the wives, we went and saw Dune 2
yeah.
on Friday night. Uh, Friday night, we went and saw it, and it was here's my honest opinion on it. I still say, even though I'm going to tear into some shit here in a minute, I'm going to give you the number right out the gate. It's a 7 to an 8. I'd have to watch it again. It's somewhere in there.
Okay.
And the reason being is because I really liked what Calumet did with Paul. I thought I couldn't believe it, but he actually became far more badass than I ever expected that little goofball to do. Um, I love a lot of the side characters. I think most of the side characters, I'd say pretty much all of them, kill it. They carry this movie more so than just about anything else because they really bring their A game. Even Batista brings his A game,
Right.
and that is really refreshing because oftentimes we see these side characters just phoning in things lately, and these guys did not. Everybody was in. Everybody was believable. They made sense in the world. Well, I say everybody. We'll get to the one who didn't. Uh, it all meshed together. They told a very good story, very coherent story from from where it left off to basically the end where our boy start that spoilers. If you've ever read Dune, you kind of should know where this movie ends.
Sure.
But basically, yeah, he what was set up in the first one comes to pass. Uh, then I'll leave it at that. I don't want to give too many spoilers since it did just come out. But the the character of Paul is really well done. I think there's some people who don't like Chalamet, however you say his name. Uh, and I get that, but I just that last third of that movie, he just came out of his shell, and I believed him. I was like, okay, let's go. I believed he was this great figure, right? Uh, and I really that was very refreshing. There's another point I'll make here. This is, believe it or not, no one's gonna believe this, but it's the truth. This is one of the most conservative movies I've ever seen. And the reason I say that is because it not only is a rebuke, whether intentional or not, a rebuke of the idea that children in the mother's womb are not people. Well, I'll leave it at that. It is also a rebuke of the faithless, because the entire point of this part of the story is the power of faith, whether it's real or not.
That's
The
Dune.
power
It's
of
all
faith.
about faith.
Yes, exactly. And that is, you just don't see that in Hollywood anymore. That's something they're not allowed to touch. Not really, or if they do, it's, they're mocking it. I remember one of my most, it's like a core memory for me, was watching Deep Space Nine way back in the day, and you had the
Alan.
what were they called? The You had the Kardashians and the people they oppressed. I can't remember their name now. My brain just lost it. Uh, oh, come on, Chester, help me here.
With Dune?
No, 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 no. In Star Trek. I'm in Star Trek now. Hang on. We had the Kardashians and the people they oppressed. What were they called?
Oh, they were the Bajorans.
See? Bajorans, yes. And the Bajorian lady, the Major, it
Kira.
was one of the episodes about their, yes, Major Kira was one of the episodes about their religion. And somebody said something to the effect of, I don't get it. And basically she says something to the effect of, for the faithful, it doesn't matter if you get it or not, something like that. And that
Sure.
was something that like stuck with me forever as an actual good representation of faith, because I grew up in a church. I was still very much active in the church at the time, and I was shocked to see this. Star Trek is godless by and large. It's supposed they're atheists, they're atheistic and stuff. Um, a interesting representation, a respectful representation of a faithful person, somebody who believes, even when they probably shouldn't, but they do anyway. And this movie is does a very good job at that. That is the big picture stuff. Villanueva is really good at that. He's good at scale.
Yeah.
He's good at pulling out and telling a story visually and thematically. What he's not good at, and unfortunately the first third of this movie, maybe first half, needed a director who could be good at that, is character. And he knows he's not. He's even said he doesn't like dialogue. He prefers to tell stories in pictures, movies.
Sure.
But unfortunately, the beginning of this movie, I don't know if it was his call, probably wasn't, or the studio's call. We had a ton of unnecessary character work that was happening, that we got the point of within the first 5 minutes. We didn't need another 40 minutes of, like, and it just dragged the movie way down,
Yep.
and it pulled the movie in, which is the great thing about Dune. Even the books is the scale of it. It's humongous in scale. And when you pull it in to try and tell this very personal story, you have to have two actors who are killing that. You have to have
Sure.
people with you have to have a script that's killing it, and you have to have two performers who have great chemistry and charisma together, that they can pull me in, get me sucked in and immersed in their little situation for a minute, and then pull me out, right? You have to have that. And he didn't, because he had Miss Zendaya and he had Calumet, who, again, by the end of the movie, 180'd me. I wasn't ready for it. I was like, oh, okay, that was good. Where'd that come from? Where was that for the first 40 minutes of this film? But it's because these two people, Zendaya and Paul, Johnny and Paul, the chemistry's not there. There's no, they just had negative chemistry together. They had like brother and sister chemistry, and I'm
Well,
supposed to pretend they're falling in love and
she's got
having
a
sex
she's
and
got the body of a
do it.
12-year-old boy. I mean,
and doing all these things, and then of course, because it's the year that it is, they had to make Chani into a queen, and I don't mean like literally, but you know what I mean.
Sure.
She's always snapping back. She's always sarcastic.
Yep.
She's always the rules don't apply to her. All this stuff, right? And that's not her. That's not that character
No.
at all.
Shawnee,
And
yeah, no.
man,
Shawnee in the
it's just a
book
shame.
is what she represents is the learned wisdom of the oppressed.
Yes.
That's what she is. She gives, because keep in mind in the storyline, movies aside, Paul's quite young, right?
Yeah.
And
15.
Shawnee's not is a little bit older than him. Keep that in mind. But she's not that old. But she has the wisdom. The Fremen have been living under the oppression of the Harkonnen for a long time, right?
Yep.
And they
Yep.
just survive out in the desert, which is a brutal level of survival, right? Their culture is
Right.
brutal. So she has certain quiet wisdom that she offers to Paul, a quiet support.
Yeah.
Even so much so at the end of the story, in the original Dune, Paul, of course, challenges the emperor and he becomes emperor. But
Right.
following the traditions of Europe, which the writer, of course, Herbert was a history, buff. I mean, he studied these kind of things.
Yeah.
He had it to where he married the emperor's daughter. And of course, there, Shawnee understood precisely what was going on, and then she was in full support of it because it was the smart move, and she quietly
Correct.
supported it. And of
Yep.
course, in reality, in the book, if you read later ones, he didn't spend any time with that girl at all. And here's the genius of Herbert, because it doesn't matter whether you like Dune or not, that dude is freaking brilliant, right?
Yeah.
Keep in mind the entire book. Dune, the entire story that you're watching in the movies, is being written down and documented, and from the words and mind and opinion of the queen.
Yep.
That woman
Yep.
who he married for political reasons and didn't spend any time with at all. He went right back to Shawnee, right? She's the one that's writing the book. She's the one that wrote it all down. The entire story
Right.
is from her point of view. Yeah.
Right.
And I have no idea. I haven't seen this movie, nor will I see it because I give me David Lynch all day. Thank you.
Yeah.
But because he understood it. But I guarantee you, the Zendaya character didn't do that.
No, you nailed it. Absolutely, she did not do that. In fact, even though every decision he had made to that point ended up being the right one, because he can kind of see the future,
Yeah, a
a
little bit. Yeah.
little bit, so he kind of knows what to do, and he just does it, and wow, it works. Because of this, you would think that eventually she would, okay, yeah, I'm a little upset that he decided to do this thing or that thing, but get the fuck over it, like a grown ass woman who's lived a hard ass life would. She might get a little bit upset, sure, but she wouldn't dwell on it like she does in this movie. It wouldn't become a whole plot point about how to the point where he says, "Oh, she'll come around," and da 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 da. Like none of that would happen. I don't believe that a woman living in that world would behave that way.
No,
I don't buy that. That's why
no,
Herbert's depiction was so good and why she's a beloved character, because she makes sense in her world. And in fact, like you said, she makes the most sense in her
yes,
world because that's her point.
because there's no room to be spoiled. There's
Exactly.
no ability to become spoiled like these
Exactly.
modern brats. And Zendaya, of course, can't portray it. She's not a very good actress, but she's not writing the
Yep.
script. But she was chosen for a reason, right?
Yep. And
But
then shoehorned into the rest of the end of the movie where she honestly was not necessary at all.
no,
Uh,
Shawnee is really representing wisdom.
well,
I do have a question though. How did they
yeah.
handle his little sister?
Well, okay. His little sister's in the movie, but that's remember what I said, how it's the most conservative movie I think I've ever seen as far as like in big screen, big budget situation, or at least in a very long time.
Right.
His little sister is never born throughout the whole movie.
Okay.
She stays in the womb of the mother and communicates with the mother from her womb. Her mother literally talks to her as if she's a person and gets information back and forth. She counsels her brother from the womb on what to do and what not to do.
Yeah.
So when I say it's the most conservative movie I've ever seen, what I mean is they make paramount the idea of life beginning at conception which is shocking they were allowed to do that. That is shocking they were allowed to do that because this is like a complete anti-abortion movie at that point. She's talking to her baby, and the baby's answering. They're having whole things. And at one
Well,
point, he has a vision of her and goes and talks to her, and they have a little conversation, and that's it. But that's how they handle it. For whatever reason, he decided to condense a lot of the story, right? Because there's supposed to be his sister and all these other stuff. She's still there, but he did went a different way with it. I didn't hate that idea, mainly because I was surprised that they were permitted they would do this in a movie in 2024, especially after all the hullabaloo about abortion that just happened recently. Um,
sure.
but they did, and that was shocking to me, and I thought it was very well done. I thought it made sense because his mother look a little crazy. She is a little crazy, but it makes her even really look a little crazy when she's around a bunch of people talking to her stomach. Right, like she's talking to somebody who ain't there. She's having a conversation with somebody who's not in the room. Um, I kind of like that. I like that little twist on her character. The other detriment I would give this movie, besides the Zendaya stuff, and I personally, I know I go in hard on her because it's fun. I don't even dislike Zendaya. I don't, and I don't even think she is incapable of playing this role properly. I think because of who she is as a in the culture or whatever, and the fact that Hollywood and the executives and the studios are so desperate to make her into the next big thing, um, they couldn't permit her to play a more submissive role like that. They couldn't do it. It's kind of like how The Rock, in a lot of his contracts, he's not allowed to lose a fight on screen. I think it was like
Sure.
that. It was more to do with that than it was anything else. Um, because I don't even think her as a person was the problem here. I don't even think her as an actress was the problem. I think the characterization she was told to do
Sure.
was the problem,
No, of course.
and she did it. And unfortunately, it drags the movie down from what it could have been.
Right.
Because I think Paul does a great job. The other thing that's disappointing is our boy Fade.
Yeah, no, I'm
Fade,
well aware. I saw that picture the other day, and I was like, nope. And of course,
listen,
the only thing David Lynch did wrong was Sting wanted to come out of that healing chamber balls out, and they filmed it, but they didn't have the balls to put it in the film. They should have had. We should have had a
here's
butt naked frickin' Sting, dude. Yeah.
here's the
Anyway,
problem with Fade. Here's the problem with Fade. I didn't even got to it. Not his appearance. I don't understand the weird bald white albino Harkonnen thing they did. I don't know why that's a thing,
it
but
is
they
weird.
did it.
Yeah.
And that's what he looks like. Okay. The actor is a really good actor. He's actually does a great job. He's got menace, he's got presence. He comes off as cunning and clever and brutal. Uh he's not someone to mess with, clearly, and that's very apparent pretty much from scene 1. Awesome. This is all the makings of a fantastic villain, Chester. This is what we're
Yes.
getting.
Yes.
This is a fantastic dark mirror to our hero, who is becoming all of those things himself from a different perspective, right? Without the evil, I guess. Okay, cool. Here we go. So here's what I thought we were going to see once he finally shows up in the movie, which is way too late in the film, by the way. Once he finally showed, I thought we were going to spend more time with him, and we were going to get to see some of his accomplishments more. We were going to get to see a lot more of him being built. Like in pro wrestling, when they have a bad guy that they're building, and he just keeps winning, and he keeps doing this, and he keeps doing that, and he keeps taking people out, and no one can seem to overcome him no matter what. He
Hmm.
finds a way, and da da da. And then at the same time, the hero's over here on his own journey. I thought that's what we were going to get, and we got a little bit, but we didn't get anywhere near enough because this character is awesome in the book. Fate is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
In this
But
movie, he is largely just there as an afterthought,
yeah,
and
that's too
it's
bad.
such a
Well,
shame.
well, I do have a question, but I'm going to ask in a minute, so I got to go do something real quick. You should ask
Okay.
Grimlock what he thinks about Dune.
Well, he and I actually watched the first one together here in Discord one night. Me and him and a couple other people watched the first one, and he really liked it. I remember him telling me he really liked it. He hasn't seen the second one. Probably once it comes out, we'll have another little watch party, and we'll all check it out together. I don't know if he's here. Grimlock, are you here? You are muted.
Yes, I am here.
He is here. He is alive. There is a Grimlock present. Um,
Yeah.
no, you heard my the the brunt of it the other night. When I first came out of there, I've mellowed on it, and I think the reason I've mellowed on it largely is because it was coming off as if I was mad at Zendaya as, her, when it's not
Yeah.
really her. It's everybody making decisions that she has to be portrayed in X, Y, or Z manner that doesn't work for this character,
Well,
and it didn't work in the film either.
it's like I said, it's not even her. It's the archetype. It's all the women characters lately, or
Yeah,
however you want to go into it,
whatever you want to call
are
it.
like
Yeah.
that. It's like when we talked about it, last night. It's like basically her behavior is like that's Taylor from Masters of the Universe.
Yes.
That
Very
that
similar.
selfish, that very
Yep.
selfish point of view. Everything's about her. And here's, and I'll say probably because you said that Zendaya's character in the book isn't as significant. I think Tila's is probably more egregious than hers because Tila actually had a story to tell. All they had to do was fucking tell it. Um, and it's a good story. It's not even a bad story. It's actually a story that leads Tila to significance. But not that she wasn't, but it's one of those things. And this character, like so many female characters, it's like, oh, we have to make them a big part of this. Why? Because
Yep.
DEI, and we had sensitivity readers, and the five fat chicks who are still writing for the Mary Sue will be upset. Um,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay,
Unfortunately, that's how it comes off. Yep.
so you're gonna shoehorn some shit into a movie, and at some point, somebody's got to tell these executives that the public, by and large, is not as stupid as they think that they are. Yeah, just because you're not executives don't mean that people don't know that they don't know bullshit when they see it, or when they see something being obviously being shoehorned in. Like the girl power scene in Endgame. Like nobody, you know, other than I'll say a very small portion of idiots actually like that. Everybody else looked at it as like, wow, you really had to put that in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
When it comes to this particular movie, it's still doing very. I just looked it up because I was curious. It's still doing very well at the box office, at least so far. Had about an $80 million opening. I think that's just domestically. That might be worldwide. I'd have to check. But that's a decent number. That's not terrible.
yeah,
I don't know what the budget was for this. They don't have a ton of huge stars in there, so I don't know. I have no idea. Everything looked good. This is one of the main reasons I keep it in that 7, 8 category, is because everything looks phenomenal. Everything. The special effects, the practical effects, everything looks really good. There's no mess ups in that game at all. The skit when he some of the cinematography, some of the shots, like there's a shot where basically there's a big spaceship over the city of over the city of Arakeen, and it just the way he frames it is just, oh, it's so iconic. It looks so good. And there's multiple times where that happens. His cinematography is doing the heavy lifting for his lack of character work or lack of ability to direct character properly. There's a couple other scenes where Paul's walking through the desert, and we need these to be scenes of myth, right? Almost mythical figure walking through the desert, and he's got this long cloak on, because he's walking through sandy desert, and it's just blowing behind him, and it looks like all the legends of a great man emerging from the desert, and it's just beautifully shot. That sort of
yeah,
stuff massively saves this film. You have Stilgar, the basically like the wizard character for this movie, the one who's teaching him things, who's teaching him how to ride worms, who's teaching him how to know this about their culture, who's all in, brings him in, is phenomenal. That actor needs more work. He needs to be in more things. He is great from beginning to end. He has another fantastic representation of the power of faith. And something like I said, if Dune was Christian allegory instead of much more Arabian, this would be they wouldn't make this movie. There's no way. But because it's got a vaguely Muslimish taint to it, or whatever you want to
which
call it, a
is
coloring.
the Arabs. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that was Herbert's point. That was his intention.
Yes. Correct. That's why you get a movie where they have faith as a central tenet. It's one of the core what's the word I'm looking for? Core forces in this film, if you will, that's like going back and forth between faith and reason and back and forth and back and forth. And which way will Paul go? Will Paul stay? Try and not become what he eventually becomes, or will he just embrace his destiny? Very similar, basic storytelling stuff. And
Exact
the
saga.
cinematography of it, the cinematography of all of it, the sound design, like I said, the side characters. Gurney is awesome. Stilgar's awesome. His mom's awesome. Who else is in there? What we got of Fade was great. Uh, Batista puts in largely an unnecessary performance because you could have taken him out and it really wouldn't have mattered. But he puts in good work when he's on screen, so can't hate him for that. Um, and on and on and on and on. So that's why I keep my score right where I do, where it's a pretty good movie. Oh, it could have been a great movie. It's a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
And I think it's because you can't just take the one thing that annoys you, unless it's like really egregious, and throw everything else out when everything else looks so good.
Oh,
And
I
everything else
can.
does look good.
Oh, you betcha I can.
Villanueva is still one of the best bleh,
Cinematographers.
cinematographers in the
Yeah, he
world.
is. Oh,
It's not
he's
even
really good
questioned.
at what he does. That's true.
Yeah.
Uh, but there are a couple things that I just think are ridiculous. There are more than a
Mhm.
couple of things, but I'll keep it short. Um, One, Shani is a Arabic girl. She's a a desert girl. Is the whole point, right? So it's not a white girl anyway. So why are you picking Zendaya anyhow? Why don't you go find some Arabic actress or even a Persian one? They do exist,
They are
and
there.
she should be a little bit older than Paul. She shouldn't be as young as Zendaya is. Why didn't you go get an actual? Why did you pick Zendaya? Why don't you go to an actual Arabic or Persian girl? Why? And second is one of the things that was done to show the absolute decadent, deplorable, demonic aspect of the Harkonnens was to
Mhm.
really kind of lean into their homosexuality, right?
Mm.
As being a bad thing. Now, these days, you're not allowed to do that. So I'm kind of curious because I didn't see in the first film. In the second film, do we get any of the homoerotic nastiness of the Harkonnens at all?
No, no. Here's how they replaced it. So instead of going that route, they're just they have specific little servants, right? And typically they just kill them for fun whenever they want.
Which is what the
And then I
Harkonnens do.
believe
Yeah.
they eat them, or they have someone else eat them. That was very vague. There was definite overtures towards cannibalism, but it wasn't directly shown.
Right.
So
Well,
yeah,
they're
they took out the degeneracy being displayed as homosexuality
well,
and
one
replaced it
point.
with just pure
Yeah.
brutality.
Well,
Yeah.
which they had all of that before, of course, in
Yes.
the storyline, and that's one of the things I do love about David Lynch's film. Well, of course, the Harkonnens are front and center in his film, and that's why it's great, right? The
Yep.
Harkonnens in the first movie, the first Dune I saw, are sucked balls, right? That's
Mhm.
not the Harkonnens at all, and that was one of the big things that turned me off of it. To be fair, the only real portrayal in the movie I liked was Duncan Idaho,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Of course, he's
Phenomenal.
dead. He'll be back later in other books, though, far, 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 far off in the future.
Well,
But
this movie, I just looked it up. While you were gone, I don't know if you heard me. I just looked it up. It had about an 80 million opening this weekend,
yeah,
which is one of the best ones. It might even be the best one so far this year. Probably is. It's only March. Um,
it'll make money.
and so most likely they're going to make some money here, and we'll get that third movie because he's already got it written, as far as I understand. He's already got it written and planned. He's ready to go. He's going to base it off of the next books, basically. And we're going to go up into the stars, effectively. that's where we're going next.
Well, I would assume
And
it's going to come out of his son because his son, the Dune series of books, is more about his son than anything.
correct.
It's not
Which is
about
why it's
Paul.
interesting how much we've focused on Paul
Right.
as
Yeah.
this great Messiah because it's really
No, it's
not
his
really even
son
his
really
story.
that
Yeah,
becomes the true thing, and lives for thousands of years, right?
right.
But we just can't get deep
And
enough
makes
because everyone has to remake shit. But
and makes whole armies of Duncan Idaho.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But the but the thing with it is, no, literally, that's what they do. Um, because the whole line is really the Bene Gesserit trying to take over the universe, and
Right.
well, they get pretty close,
They do
right?
a good job. They did a bang
Um,
up job right till the end there.
yeah, and then
Uh,
they get taken out by a bunch of freaking telepaths.
yeah.
But anyway, um, yeah, they ruin the Harkonnens because
Yep.
one of the thing they're brutal and just everything about them is horrible. They're evil, evil. It's over the top, to be fair. But that little
Which
touch, the little touch of the homosexual aspect of it, it really just puts it over the edge, man. It really, they're
which
creepy. Yeah,
Oh, he would have got canceled if he'd have done that. You know he would have. That would have been a whole problem if he would have in any way implied that homosexuality is deviant in any way at all. If there was even a hint, a whiff of it being something they do out of deviancy instead of love or whatever the narrative is nowadays,
yeah,
um, they would have. That's why it's shocking to me that he was able to get through Hollywood this idea of being able to speak to your baby like it's like this isn't. It's not like they're not even trying to imply it's like she has a feeling, right? We've seen that. No, no, these are conversations she's
sure,
having with this child.
sure.
That is a aware, awake being
Well, of
within
course
her.
they are.
Uh,
As soon as that egg pops and starts
yep,
the zygote process, you are a thing.
yep.
You now
Which is that's
exist.
why it's just shocking we got to do it. He makes a direct, which is I think it's the only time in the whole movie, makes direct overtures to God. Says, he's basically gonna do this. I think he says in the name of God or something like that. Uh because he's supposed to be a religious figure. Uh it's very shocking what he was allowed to get away with here and how even though he makes a lot of changes, especially with old Chani and like you said, the Harkonnens, there's a lot of differences. I think he gets the overall message and feeling of Dune across, which is the power. They call it desert power, but what they mean is the power of faith. That's what they mean. And
Yeah.
that's what this movie does very, very well. Is explains without like beating you over the head with it,
Yeah,
the power of faith. What faith can get men to do.
right.
Just faith, simple faith. Like he's not some super rich guy or super powerful, persuasive guy. He technically is supposed to be, but he's not because of what happened. But yet, still, they follow him. That's faith. That's the power of faith.
Yeah.
And there's a beautiful scene. It's near the beginning of the movie. It's not really even a spoiler because I'm pretty sure it's basically ripped right from the book. But one of the rituals that they do is they don't waste water. The Fremen don't waste water,
No.
and they almost have a very well. I wouldn't even say almost. They definitely have a very religious, you know, reverence for water. And one of the things they do in the movie is they one of the guys who has died, they cover him up with this big cloth that has a bunch of suctions on it, suck all of his water and moisture out of his body, and then take that water and pour it into the big cistern.
Hmm.
And there's millions and millions and millions of souls, as they call it in there, and the way that he shoots it and the way that they act it is just so beautiful.
Yeah,
So
it's
much
straight out of the book.
reverence.
Yeah,
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 reverence for it. Like he says, not no matter how much we were dying of thirst, none of us would ever touch a drop of this water. Uh, that kind of stuff is just not done in big budget modern movies. It's just not. They don't
yeah,
allow for reverence. Nothing's sacred. Everything can be tarnished and destroyed. And by the end, that does happen, but not by them. Everything can be tarnished and destroyed and brought low because nothing matters. Everything's subjective. Blah 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 blah. All the deconstructionist BS we've been subjected to for 25, 30 years in Hollywood, and really bad in the last decade. This movie doesn't really have it. It does still have stupid stuff like with the Chani character and weird changes that just I don't I still don't understand why the Harkonnens can't just be redheads. I said it in the first movie. Why can't they just be redheads? They're redheads. What are we doing?
Yeah, I
Like,
know.
why are they all bald?
No, they missed the opportunity because the Harkonnens are really they're the thing you want to hate that you get inspired. And if you
Yes,
don't have that,
yes.
you're really taking away motivation in the movie.
And that's the big
It's like
problem with
Darth
Fade.
Vader,
Is
right?
Fade should have felt like Darth Vader. That was pretty. You set me up perfectly. Fade should be like Darth Vader, and Paul should be, if I'm going to use this as an analogy, should be like what Anakin could have been. Right?
Sure.
But he becomes Darth Vader. But those two characters, Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker, are mirrors. They are the dark mirror of each other, even though they're the same person. Fade and Paul should be that in two separate people. And the fact that Fade never really gets there because he just doesn't get enough screen time. That's the only reason. If they would have given him more to do, he would have gotten there.
But they
It
took us all the
hurts
way to
the
the
end of it.
Emperor's defeat and the marriage and everything, right?
They took us basically, yes.
Yeah, okay.
They
So they
that
finished
stopped
the book.
right
Okay.
before, basically right before the marriage, right? Um, yeah. So yeah, they basically finished the first book and what happens at the end there. And you mentioned how it's written from the perspective of the queen.
Mm.
They established that too.
Oh, they did. That's
She
good.
actually is as still the princess. She is the opening, like she's writing in a journal, basically what's going on in
Right.
the world,
It's all from her
and she's
point of
the
view,
opening character.
which is
Yeah,
very interesting because that would almost be from the view of the enemy, right?
right, right.
It's very interesting, Herbert's choice in doing that. I thought that was pretty
Anyway,
interesting. Anyway,
no more Dune.
no more
Let's
Dune.
go.
Let's go. All right. So here we go. First story of the day.
Henry Cavill's Marvel role is shocking, says Rue. Shocking.
Oh
Oh,
god, it's
Shocking.
cosmic book dudes. Fuck them.
well,
They always put out bullshit.
they do, but I do love the way it displays on screen. But nevertheless, there's a lot of talk in here about nonsense, as usual.
Yep.
But the interesting thing by the end of it is they have no clue. Of course, they don't know who he's going
Yes,
to be.
because well, for one, let's just do this right. Let's just put it out there.
Oh,
They need a fucking Hail Mary in the worst way.
They do.
Because Pedro Pascal ain't it. As far as I'm concerned, that Dusty Speck being in Fantastic Four makes it an automatic pass for me.
Oh yeah.
So, and I'm gonna be honest. I know some people will say this is great. Henry Cavill being cast as Doctor Doom still does not save that movie for me. Just because Pedro's in it, he is at Tom level cruise of hatred for me.
hmm hmm
At
No,
that,
I don't like
he's
him
at
either.
that.
But
I don't
the
like it either.
now I get your point. But the thing is, I don't care about the article and all the nonsense it says.
Yeah.
What I am interested in is what we think he might be, because the one fact that you get out, there's only one fact, actual fact in this article, and that is that he was offered a role. Henry Cavill was offered a role and he accepted it.
Right.
So
We don't know what it is though.
we don't know. That
No yet.
tells us many things, though.
I'm gonna do this just for you, Chester. They're recasting Wonder Man, and he's gonna be it.
I have no clue. With that, we have no clue. But
Hey, look, they pulling shit out of their ass. I can do it too.
but the
That's
thing
true.
you can. But the thing
Fair.
that I'm curious is, we know that Henry's had enough. It's quite clear. He's very eloquent in the way he speaks. He's very professional, but you can
Classy.
tell that he is sick of it. He's done
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
with
done
all
with
the nonsense. So Marvel offering him a role that he accepted came with caveats, right?
it. Oh, for
Yeah.
And we know this. So therefore, what role would he accept with his caveats is the question that I'm interested in. Now, some fan art has thrown some ideas around, and I thought we'd have some fun thinking about who he might be playing. The Beast? I don't know.
Mm, nah, because then
No.
he's gonna have to get all CGI'd or makeuped up.
Well,
And
but
one of the main appeals of Mr. Cavill is he's a very handsome man.
That's true.
So we don't need to cover him up.
not just that. I know that Cavill can't, but Beast is like. I know a lot of people tend to think of Beast as an afterthought in the X-Men because he was more in the forefront with the original team than the second Genesis team.
Right.
But Beast is an all-American white boy,
Yep.
big, strong Midwest
Born and
kid.
bred. Yep.
Yeah, he's just yes, he's insanely intelligent. That doesn't mean you should just cast a Brit to do it. I mean,
He's smarter now. He's British.
Right. Right.
yeah,
But Henry
um,
does a good American accent, I think.
It's fine. Yeah.
yeah, but I'm
But I
I'm
think
gonna
I
be
agree
honest.
with him.
You
We
could
need.
there's if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna do that, especially in that role, if
Yes.
you're gonna do that, why not just get the guy who plays Reacher then?
Yep.
Yeah, that might be a better
Right.
choice. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. But this is one that's been thrown out. Elrod says that the Century actor left the project. It would be fun to see him play Marvel Superman. Well, I would
That would
argue
be
with you that
funny.
Century is a Marvel Superman. I say Hyperion is. But
Well,
that's
they've had
old
a
school.
couple of hoops. Let's be
Yeah.
honest.
Ben says it really depends on whether they expect Henry to carry the MCU in a Tony Stark, Steve Rogers manner. Now that's fair, if because the caveat is the question, the caveats, because Henry clearly has had enough. He's got
Yeah.
plenty of money. He's working on his own projects that he's putting forward. I'm not going to say that he doesn't need the money, but I'm just saying that you're
Nah.
going to have to offer him something that one he's very interested in, and two that he has control over, because he's clearly sick of the nonsense and he doesn't need to
Well,
deal with it. So it's
since you mentioned it, I want to ask because we've seen how Henry has been in the past about getting on projects that are faithful to the source material.
right,
Right? This
Stickler.
was his hang up with The Witcher.
right,
He
Yep.
had problems with DC with with this as well,
that's right.
and we know for a fact that Marvel, for the last decade, has told anybody who gets on their projects, "Don't worry, they're this name in title only. They're this character in title only."
Sure.
Knowing Henry is like that, unless they're really just that desperate and they're gonna give him everything he wants, and I don't think that they will because Disney's stubborn. Does anybody really believe that with their track record
Well, I mean,
that
maybe they've
Henry?
got to the point where they're that desperate. Maybe.
They're not that
um
Well, we
desperate. They still put Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. They're not that desperate,
I'm saying it
and they're
is
gonna
interesting.
fuck up the X Men casting. Let's get that one out the way too.
well, speaking of X-Men casting, I don't know if he's on this list. Uh, what if they shaved old Henry's head? They had him be Xavier.
No. Nope.
No,
Nope.
No.
Not in on it.
No.
Not in on it.
No.
Not in.
because
Didn't love it.
if you're gonna bring him in, like, is that Reed Richards or Tony Stark type, where you're gonna try to make him like that leader, that face. I like the X Men. I love Charles Xavier, but he's never been that.
No,
That's
he's
true.
not that. And Elrod's
The
next comment
mentor.
here makes a perfect point. Cavill cannot do comedy, so he needs to be a villain. He might be, and I agree. He's not a funny guy.
Well, fuck, Chris Hemsworth can't do comedy either, but they kept on trying.
But they failed.
They didn't stop. They didn't stop
Even
trying. That's
Chris,
my
in fairness to Chris, even he's tired of it. He's like, "All right, this is getting ridiculous. Can we
Yeah.
have a serious? Can we get a little bit more serious tone,
And
please?
he's
What the
out
hell?"
too. He's done with it. He's like, nah, that's enough. Could it be Punisher? I don't know. Think they would give us a proper Punisher. It's
Uh,
curious because we have to take the caveat into account that Henry's not going to play ball with them.
who do I
So
think it will be, or who do I want it to be? Because we know who I want it to be. It was mentioned up here a little ways up ahead, up in this article, and that's Doctor Doom. He would kill Victor Von
yeah, but
Doom.
that's
He
been
would
confirmed.
kill it.
He's not that though.
Well, how confirmed has it been? Have they
Yeah,
said
no, I
this?
think my choice would be Doom. That would be my
Yeah,
choice. But
yeah.
it's
they
everybody's
seem to be
doing.
saying that no, that's not happening. Um, John says this is from Alpha Proto. John says he will stay as Punisher, as like the honor. He wants to honor the character, but he's out if they won't honor the character. Like that season 2 of Punisher was just stupid. Um,
Yeah.
Alan says to Ben, I read somewhere that he opted out, didn't like a Disney slash Marvel direction. No, he did. We were talking about Bernthal.
I'm about to
Um,
time out Maple Street
yeah.
for his blasphemy.
But his first season and the stuff he did in Daredevil as Punisher, I liked it. But
Yep.
anyway, let's see what else there's some fan art has suggested. We got Beast. I think everyone's like, yeah, no, no, that's not good. Doctor
No.
Doom, everybody, yes. I think
I
he'd
don't
be
care
great,
who
Doctor
they've
Doom.
confirmed. I don't care about any of that stuff. Fix it. Just
Yeah,
fix it. He's Doctor Doom. He's
he'd be good at
perfect
it.
for Doctor Doom.
He could
He
do the
would kill
European
it. He would
accent, put a little,
understand
yeah,
why he has to be the baddest motherfucker in every room he walks into at all times. Doesn't matter if he's in there with gods and demons. He's got to be the man.
he does.
He would
And
Wait,
get
wait.
that.
You know what?
little teeny scar on his cheek, the just
Yeah, just a
noticeable.
little
I'm
scratch.
Yeah,
Just a little.
I'm gonna do this justice for Daryl.
yeah,
Henry Cavill. They're not gonna put him in a suit, but he is the mouth. He is the voice of one better Ray Bill.
I would love that. And for the fact that they haven't already killed Odin, so there's literally no way to bring Beta Ray
yeah,
Bill in and make it make sense.
I know. I just wanted to do that.
yeah. But as Doom, it could be fun. I think he could be fun. But then again, Marvel for a decade gave us fun. Now, some of the movies are better than others. We all agree. But
Yeah.
they were fun, dude. And then they
Yep.
stopped being fun. So, if
Yep.
Disney has any hopes of rekindling itself, and I don't know that it does, they need to go back and just have fun, man. And
Yes.
him as Doom would be great. I don't know about this one. I don't know.
Um. Nah. He
Yeah,
doesn't have the edge to him. He doesn't. He's not that guy. He's just
no.
not. He's too classy. That's why he'd be a great Doom. Right? There's got to be a
He'd
little
be great Doom.
eloquence to
Yeah,
Doom. Yeah. Now
yeah,
maybe he could surprise everybody. Nobody thought Hugh Jackman would be good at it either, but I mean, he
yeah.
killed
But
it.
yeah, but
So
he's an actor who actually tries. You know,
wait, wait, Jackman or
Yeah, that matters.
Cavill?
Hugh Jackman. Yeah. I mean, that's why he pulled it off because he actually gave a shit, right?
And
That
he loves
matters.
the character, but who doesn't? Wolverine's the man.
Yeah. Too tall. Well, so
Uh,
was Jackman. But but I just don't see it. It's not the kind of character Henry could play. But then again, Ben's point was a good one. Are they looking at just him having a one-off with Marvel that a character he gets control of what he does, or are they looking to use him as Tony Stark and to try to revive? Because they've been trying to find the Tony Stark here and they failed.
right.
So I mean, if it depends
Well,
on
it's
what
funny
Marvel's thinking, right?
because I was going
Well,
to
if you're not
basically
gonna
say
bring
the
back
same thing.
RDJ, why don't you just recast Tony Stark?
Could do
Right.
that.
So what
I was
about
thinking the
Henry
same
Cavill as
thing.
Tony Stark?
It could work, especially now that we have all sorts of multiverse shenanigans. They could make it make sense somehow.
Yeah.
The only problem with that is I don't know if he's not Elrod said. He doesn't have great comedic timing. He's not a
No,
great
he
comedy
doesn't.
actor,
Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah.
and unfortunately, they've turned Iron Man into a lot of a huckster. He's got jokes.
Yeah.
So unless they do a totally different take on him, much more somber take on him, which we've seen before in the comics, and they've made it work. Uh, I don't know if he can pull it off.
Roger.
I think he needs to be. I think he needs to be a villain. I think a villain makes the
Yeah.
most
No,
sense.
I think he'd be
What
good at that.
about Magneto?
Magneto, maybe. But Roger also says he could be Galactus.
Oh,
It's interesting.
well, here's the problem. What are they going to do with Galactus? He
Yeah,
could be
they
the
can't.
Surfer.
They can't make that
He could
work, dude.
kill the Surfer. But what are they going to do with Galactus? And the reason why I ask that is, like you said, they can't. How are they going to make that work? Galactus is. They have yet to show me that they can do anything celestial. The closest
No.
they've gotten was Thanos, and they brought him way down in scale. Like he got shrunk big time from his actual cosmic level that he is. Um, and the only reason yeah, he got the gauntlet, did the snap and everything, but by and large, we didn't get even a fraction of what he was capable of. So they haven't proven that they can nail that kind of scale. And we also don't want them. What I was going to say earlier is there's two options here. They either gave him an idea to play somebody who's going to be around a long time, like a main villain, like a Thanos or whatever, or they gave him what you guys said, a one-off shot, and he's just going to have full control over whatever this character is that they gave him. Maybe it's Captain Britain. I don't know. Whatever they
It's been
said, hey,
suggested,
just
yeah.
go make this. And he said, cool, I'll make it. Got it. It's done. Uh, and it's just designed to be a one-off. Because
Yeah.
if they give him a villain, they give him a good one to play, and they just kill him off at the end, which Marvel has been known to do,
Which is all
that's
they
a
do.
massive waste. A
It is.
massive waste.
Although Alan kind of burst in your bubble there, he has a scoop. He says, actually, will be playing the Surfer. So
Alan apparently has decided he needs to have violence brought upon him. He has chosen it. Oh my God! Could you imagine that literal human blob, all painted silver, just flying around
I know.
on a
Yeah.
surfboard that couldn't lift off? It'd be bouncing on the ground.
Doesn't ever play a black hole in space.
That's right. But Ben, this has been suggested too. We'll get to here in a second with the Captain Britain thing. But the thing is, though, if they do Captain Britain, they need to do the proper Captain Britain, not the crap that the Marvel has done with him recently.
Hmm.
And once again, I just don't know that Marvel is capable of telling a good heroic story for a man. Sentry. A lot of people have said this. I don't like it at all because yeah, I like Henry, I do, but I don't think he has the chops for this dude.
Well, it
I
depends on what they do with them.
Yeah, but if you do
Uh,
Sentry properly, you need a guy who's
yeah,
literally a schizophrenic and
yeah, he's got to
can
be tortured.
tortured, and you need someone who can truly display. You need a freaking
You need
who
Glenn Howerton. Got it.
or you know who would be good. Of course, they wouldn't use him because he's already been in X Men. But that guy who played Split, he played Captain Xavier. It's gonna be Professor
Yeah,
Xavier. What's his name?
McAvoy.
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 That guy could
Yeah.
pull it off. But they
He's a little
they
small though. But yeah.
but they need
Well,
some. You need a really really good actor to do Sentry though.
here's the question about the Century though, because we all know where the road leads with the Century.
Yeah.
So does that mean that at
Misery.
whatever point he becomes the big bad as the Void?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Because
You
you're
really
not
need a good actor. Yeah.
you're not just going to do that as a one-off.
No, that well,
I don't.
Marvel might.
We
but
hope not.
I mean, I
We
know,
hope not.
I know they're stupid enough to make it a one-off, but if you do it right, it should not be a one-off. There are
Well,
certain characters that should not be one-offs. Thanos
No,
shouldn't be a
no,
no,
one-off.
or
Sentry
anyone
shouldn't be, and
else?
that's true.
The Void,
Yeah.
the Phoenix,
Yeah.
those kind of characters are not one-offs.
Elrod
What
suggests
if
that he could be as good as Nightcrawler. That's interesting.
maybe? What if
Wait a minute.
Chester?
Uh,
I'm going to throw a crazy one out. This is a total curveball, and it would have to be some weird time shenanigans. But what if he was playing an older Franklin Richards?
oh,
The Maker?
Jesus. You know,
Nah,
and the one where Galactus is his herald. Yeah, that one. Yeah,
Yep, yep.
it could
And we could
be,
do some
but
serious time shenanigans to make, they could figure out a way to make it make sense. Because they're going to have to do something crazy here. They've lost so much goodwill. Nobody's talking about the MCU really anymore. It's dead on the vine by and large, except for a few specific characters. Because Spider-Man will always be popular. He's Spider-Man. Like
sure.
aside, and people are excited as much as we're hating on Pedro Pascal for good reason. People are excited for that Fantastic Four movie. People are really excited for the new Deadpool movie. People are really excited for what they're going to do with X-Men. There's a lot of hype or buzz about what's going to happen there. I think people are going to get very disappointed, but the reality is this is the time to do a major pivot and come up with something new and radical like the MCU was at its inception.
Right.
Go a different way with it, and we've already introduced time nonsense. It's been a whole big thing. It's been a problem, so let's clean it up. Franklin's the kind of character you can introduce who's on a mission to clean it up. He's that guy. If you're going to have anybody come in and correct your cosmos that isn't literally God, Franklin can do
Well,
it.
it's close enough to God, with
Yes.
Franklin. But then again, do you think the people, the powers that be at Disney are willing to give that much power to a male character?
No.
Especially a white one.
Yeah, especially a
Well,
white
here's
one.
the thing,
Yeah.
though. Here's the thing, though. I normally agree with what you're saying, and I largely do agree, except They already kind of did. At the end of Loki season 2, Loki effectively becomes the keeper of all time. He already kind of has that power. Now he's trapped in this role forever, but there's no indication he loses his will while he's stuck in this position. He can still, have influence here, there, or
That's a
wherever.
good point, Alpha.
So there's already they already kind of have. And we'll see what they do, because obviously they have to pivot in some way, shape, or form away from Kang, or get Kang out of the way. They've been setting him up now for half a decade, and that ship's not sailing.
Yeah.
So they got to do something. They're going to have to do something radical, something nobody sees coming. And I honestly, we got Fantastic Four coming. We know it's coming.
Yeah.
Franklin's a big part of that story.
Yeah, but
I'm just saying,
it's
maybe he
like
is.
it's like the Sentry though. I don't know how if they could pull it off. Now
Exactly.
Elrod that makes another interesting suggestion. He does look like the mullet aficionado human form of the Beyonder.
Could be the Beyonder. We need someone that can come in and clean up the timeline mess. We need a character of that level, that cosmic level. Beyonder could do it too, right? Franklin can do it. There's other people who can do it who would make sense in the role of the catalyst that fixes this, right? Fixes this multiverse madness, as they called it. And Beyonder would work too. He's he's
Right.
just as good, in fact, from a different angle, of course, because he's not good guy in the story, but from a different angle. But yeah, both could work.
Right.
I don't know. I just thought of it, and I just kind of like the idea of like a weird sort of like time mystery, time cop character where he just kind of pops up. Franklin does in different movies and moves the meta narrative forward, kind of like Thanos did. But instead of it being a villain that does this, you could have it be, you know, a good guy. Basically, he's trying to
Yeah.
fix the problem
Trying to
from
fix
the
problems,
outside.
yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah, but a couple other suggestions here. Ben says recast Kang, but
Probably.
that ship has sailed, dude. And honestly, who cares about Kang? Maple Chic says Henry Cavill as Wundar the Aquarian. I know you said that as a joke, but that would actually be fun. Wundar is actually quite
well,
powerful.
yeah, yeah, he's not bad. He's got a
um,
silly name, but yeah,
he does,
not
but he's
bad.
actually Henry Cavill as Herbie.
Yep.
Thanks, Alan.
The ultimate, the ultimate.
The
You know
ultimate
what?
Herbie.
Just make him Popeye and bring him into the Marvel and let him clean everything up.
Yeah, there you
Popeye's
go.
he's omnipotent. So
That's
just let
true.
him give
He
him some
is.
spinach. He can do anything.
Now, Elrod says Deacon Frost. They may be eventually doing Blade. Um, yeah, no, 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 no. None of these things are
Maybe,
correct.
maybe in 20 years they'll get a
Yeah,
Blade movie out.
maybe. And then, of course, the last one here is Captain Britain. Now, Ben had
Captain Britain.
mentioned, and we all know this, he actually years ago expressed interest in being Captain Britain.
Yep.
And
Why does he look like Bruce Campbell in this picture?
uh,
He does a little
because
bit.
he's
Yeah.
the everyman. But
Yep.
Bruce Campbell as Captain Britain would be awesome as long as he
It
stayed
would
in
have been.
American
Yep.
accent the entire time.
The whole time. Yeah, and
Yes, the whole time.
that's the big piss take of the whole movie.
Yeah,
He's an American. He's
yeah.
using an American accent the whole time.
But Captain Britain can be pretty cool if he's done right, though. And of
Yeah.
course, from our point of view, maybe I always like Captain Britain, but from an American point of view, maybe he's not as interesting. But keep in mind, Marvel UK, when they were really trying to push Marvel over there, he was one of the big hits in UK. A lot of
Yeah.
Yeah.
kids in Britain identify with Captain Britain. They do. He was very
Yeah.
popular over there.
Ooh. Look what Maple Chic just put over there in the old chat.
Gladiator.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That could
I'm
work.
assuming he's talking about Gladiator of the Shire. I'm assuming
I'd
that's
Yeah.
what he
imagine.
But
means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Not talking about the
mean,
other one.
Gladiator could work.
Yeah, maybe.
Could work.
And that could be a good one-off character for him. And it is
Yeah.
a superhero-like character as well. I mean,
Here's what I'll
Superman-like character.
say. I would say he either, and I've already said this, but I'm going to reiterate it one more time, a little bit more clearly. He either needs to be a villain that's going to be around, or just a one-off situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just something that he does that's cool. Maybe even a Captain Britain. He comes in and sets up a new arc basically, and then
Well, they
dies or
are
something.
doing
I
The
don't know.
Black Knight. That movie is
Yep.
coming.
Yeah.
It's
Maybe
a
he's the Black
spin-off
Knight.
of the Eternals, which was an abysmal flick. But The Black Knight is coming. It's got that Kit what's his name? That guy who played Game of
Kit
Thrones,
Harington,
Jon Snow, Kit Carrington. That's the name.
Yeah,
Um,
Harrington, or
Harrington. Okay.
sorry.
something
But
like
But
that.
I was just drifting off about the Bruce Campbell thing. It's a shame they've never got X-Men right, because I'm picturing Bruce Campbell as Corsair, and
Ooh, yeah,
we have been denied.
I could see it.
we
I
have.
could see it.
No, Bruce is awesome. Actually, the most recent Evil Dead movie that came out, which Bruce was part of the production team, he was involved in that.
Yeah.
So he was right there. It's an okay flick. It's okay. They had a pretty minimal budget, but I think they did well with the budget. But that movie would have been epically awesome if in the elevator scene, when they're finally in the elevator toward the end of the movie, and of course they take it a different direction. But in that moment, if they're in dire straits, they think they're going to die. If at that moment you see a fist, a metal fist punch through, or a chainsaw punch through the wall of the doors of the elevator and open it up, and Bruce Campbell is standing there, and then ends the movie, that would have made that movie freaking epic. They missed an
Yeah.
opportunity.
Drop the ball, as it were.
Yeah, it's only the
Um,
last 10 minutes or so of the movie, but that would have been, oh my god, dude.
yeah, he could play. He could play the knight. I could see that. Um, but I don't know. It really just depends because, like you said, he is, and maybe his stance is softened and we just don't know
I
about
don't
it.
think
But
so.
last we knew,
No, because he doesn't need
he
to.
is he's done with these franchises. He
Yeah,
can't have direct say over or direct say in. Right? He has direct creative input, not just as the star, but
that's
on
fair.
a higher level.
Yeah.
And unless that's changed and we just haven't heard about it, which is possible, uh, the only way that that makes sense to me from Disney is if they're giving him something that's small, and that's kind of sucks because I would rather see him do something big for them because I think they do desperately need a new face of the franchise very, very badly. And Henry could use it. Henry's been it before for their competition. It's a great little fu to their so-called competitors, and with the right character and the right script, I don't see any reason he couldn't carry it for the next decade.
This is my choice. $1 the Aquarian. Yep, that's where
Good
we should
old
go.
Wondar.
Yeah, get him $1.
Nobody knows who Wondar is.
He's actually pretty powerful. He's actually pretty powerful. But but anyway, um, interesting to see what's going to happen with that, because
Is that the last one on here,
that
Captain Britain?
is.
Yep.
But the thing we know that Henry's kind of done with it. He's got plenty of money. He's on working on his own projects. He doesn't need to do anything. He's got his
Yep.
own thing going on, right? So him being chosen, an offer was made, and because he didn't go to them, they went to him, and they made an offer and he accepted it. So it had to be something that really, really interested him, that he would be able to have control over what his character does. It
It could
has to
be
be.
Captain Britain, and they're
It could
gonna
be
they're
very
gonna set it
simple,
up
little one-off.
as
Yeah,
yep, or maybe even a series on like Disney Plus or something. They said you'll have executive producer, you'll be creative director, something like that.
sure.
And he's just gonna make a little spy series, basically, which is basically what it'd be like,
Or
which is
you.
something they should
Whoa,
have
whoa,
done
whoa,
with.
whoa, 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 whoa!
Oh,
Union
oh,
Jack. No, dude,
I
Union
love it.
Jack. No, that could, because he might want to make something for the British people. Fuck the rest of you.
Sure,
He wants to make something for
yeah,
the British people.
why not? It's a big market
Union,
for Marvel.
Way better
A
than
lot of money
Captain
there.
Britain. Union Jack. Oh
Good
my
name
God,
too.
dude,
Much better name.
did I just find it?
He might have. What I'm
Because he
still
could
hoping
do a
for, I'm
little
holding out
series with
hope.
Union Jack in Britain and just, fuck it, just do it in Britain, right?
I'm still holding out hope we'll get surprised and it'll be Doctor Doom. If it's
That would
not
be cool.
him, then the only other person that I know of right now that's acting that I think could pull off physical everything that Doom needs to be. Because like I said, Doom's in a room, doesn't matter who he's with. He has to come off as the biggest, baddest motherfucker in that room because that's what he is. He's Doctor Doom, damn it.
Yeah, no,
And
it's true. It's part
the
of his
only
character.
other person who has that physical charisma right now is Richson, is Reacher. So those are the only two people I want to see even remotely get near Doctor Doom as a character, as actors right now. Unless they bring out somebody I'm not expecting. They left field me, they left hook me, and I'm like, all right, Okay, that could work.
There are good
They could do
actors.
that.
They do exist.
Sure, they could do
Um,
that. They did it with the beginning of the MCU. A lot of these guys, I was like, I don't know about it. And then they killed it. They came in there and they killed it. So maybe they can get some of that magic again. Whoever was casting these movies back then, get them back in there, and let's get this done and quit worrying about
right.
ticking check boxes and making sure you have X, Y, or Z of X, Y, or Z group, and just pick the actor who is the character. It's not that hard.
No.
You know what the
Yep.
character looks like. It's not a mystery. Just
Yeah.
pick that guy.
Yeah, pick someone who works. Now, this would be a CG character mainly, but Roger says, speaking of steel, how about Colossus? Well,
Yeah.
to be fair, I would rather see them go hire a Russian to do that. Because I don't know how many
We
of you guys reach outside of your American domains, but the Russians drop some really good movies
Yep.
year after year. Not everyone, of course, no one does. But the Russians drop some really excellent movies. There are good actors in Russia. Just like I was talking about with Dune earlier. Why didn't they go hire an Iranian actor? They have a huge movie cinema, thing going on in Iran, and there's some really good
that's
actors.
You know
that's
why,
real easy,
Chester.
Chester.
I
You
know
know
They're
why.
the
they're
answer to
they're
that
trying to
question.
they're trying to manufacture stars. That's why.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there are
And
some
they're
really
Hollywood's
good
keeping they're going to
actors
keep
that
even
aren't from America.
in the
and they're
last
keep
decade or so, maybe even longer, Hollywood has decided they can just make a star. Maybe they always did and we just didn't know it, but they have decided they can just make a
Yeah.
star. They can just push somebody in everything and it'll work. And it works for a little bit usually depending on what they push them in, but it doesn't work very long. There's a reason why this Borderlands movie trailer comes out and everybody in it's over 40. There's a reason for
Yeah.
that. It wasn't by accident. It's because they wanted good actors. They
Yeah.
wanted competent actors with
Yeah.
name and clout. So they went and got people who are older because a lot of these younger people, they just don't have it. They don't have
They don't put
it.
the
The
work in.
literal it.
Yeah, they don't put the
Yeah.
work in. And that's really the problem. And we see this with a lot of things. Like an example here in Japan. The other day, I was saw a singer doing their thing, and in Japan, this woman is touted as it's basically Japan's Whitney Houston, right?
Mm,
But the girl can never sing in tune, ever. She's always sharp, she's always flat. She has some of the other skills. She's not quite Whitney level, but she does have some skills. But she never ever sings on tune. Ever. It's like every damn song she's either flat or sharp. Usually it's flat. And the thing is, she has other skills. She could actually fix that problem. You know how you do that? Practice. And
yep.
that's one of the problems we have. A lot of these kids don't put the work in. They just don't put the work in. And
they
that's
was taught
that's
to
a
hate
shame.
work.
Yeah, well, because they're all little spoiled brats, is what it is. Maple Sheik once
No,
again hitting us in the head with Quasar. That would be that could be a
it,
tragic character, actually.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
He'd be fun as Quasar.
Go ahead, Grimlock.
Uh,
well, it's not that they're just spoiled. They was propagandized to hate work.
Again,
Anything that work or reminds them of work, they was taught to hate it.
it shows though. Alan makes a
Oh
really good
yeah.
point. Yeah, an Excalibur movie would be sweet, but too white for Disney. Yeah, no, I loved the Excalibur comic when it came out. I got it day one, and I went through the whole series, and that actually is a fun comic. That you're right. Yeah. Um.
Chester,
Yeah.
do they don't have the rights to it anymore, I don't think. I don't think they ever had the movie rights. But since we're just throwing out hypotheticals, what if Marvel and Disney actually did get the rights and they went to Henry to be Conan?
Conan.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, hold on a minute. Well, he's not really technically big enough, but then again, neither was
Well,
Arnold. Um.
yeah, who the hell is? He's a damn Neanderthal, for Christ's
Yeah,
sake. He's
that's
huge.
true. But ooh, he would have to go to Conan, man. You don't do the barbarian run, do the Sumerian run, and
Yeah,
maybe, maybe, because Conan's
exactly. That's a
actually not
big.
stupid. He's
No,
quite
not at all.
clever. Yeah,
Yeah, figure shit out.
yeah, he does.
Um, I don't know, I was just thinking about it because, and it's funny because I know Henry actually is actually really shy. He doesn't actually like to take his shirt off in movies. He finds it, degrading and stuff. But of course the women and the gay men, so they
Yeah, yeah,
they
sure.
make him pop his shirt off. But if he were to play Conan, he'd pretty much be running around in a loincloth or whatever for a lot of that movie. So he'd
Do you
have
think
to,
he could pull
show
that
skin.
off though, dude?
I do. I do. I
You
think he could.
do.
I think
Yeah.
people underestimate Henry because of he's been what's the word I'm looking for? He's been in the roles that don't require a ton of range. Like Geralt is a pretty stoic, pretty one note character even in the books, right?
Yeah,
Not
sure.
There's not a lot of depth to
He's
his emotion,
stoic.
which is actually part of his character because the mutations that are done to him does that to him as well. It like deadens their emotion. Uh, and so he didn't have to do a lot there. Superman, he was born to play Superman. Obviously, he even has a very Superman temperament in
Yeah,
real life.
that was unfortunate how that all worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's not a lot of acting required there. And the only other movies he's really even like had a lot of exposure in, we haven't. The one that came out was Argyle. He wasn't even really in. He was just the promotional material, but he wasn't hardly even in it. And then we have that new one, that new Guy Ritchie movie coming out where he's the lead, and it looks phenomenal. And this will be one of the first times we get to see him try his hand at decent humor, a humorous action movie with a proper director who knows how to do it. Guy Ritchie, of course. Uh, so we'll see. But I think a lot of people underestimate Henry because he's been shoehorned into certain, well, not shoehorned, he chose them. He's been in certain roles that didn't require a lot of, stretching his legs as an actor. And I think he's got more in him than we've seen. To be honest with you, I really do, because he's too professional to not be better at it than we think.
Yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
wouldn't I
He's
wouldn't
too
mind to see it.
professional. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it. Now, I keep damn that Wondar keeps coming up in the chat. All right, Wondar is Marvel's Superman in a very odd way. Wondar's parents, just to kind of help everyone out here, his dad was a scientist. I think his name was Hectu, and mother's name, what was mom's name? Sonia, I think, or Soya. But they come from a planet called Dakam. And he's a scientist, and he found that their sun was going to go supernova, and the planet wouldn't listen to him. So he and his wife concocted a plan to put their son, Wondar, upon a spaceship and send him into space so he would be saved. And he was. I shit you not. That is Wondar's origin. Is exactly Superman's. Now, he's actually a pacifist and he's more of a Jesus type character, as Elrod had said. But he is wicked powerful. Wicked. That's who Wondar is. Seeing as the chat has become obsessed. All right.
They're gonna meme it into existence. It's
Yeah.
going to happen. We're gonna see him in a robe, standing there all Jesus-y
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
British at the same time for some reason.
He literally is. You're right, Elrod. He is. He's very Jesus character. And Marvel Sheik wonders why James Gunn hadn't used him yet. Fair enough. Let's move on to the next story as we wonder continually into the future. Maybe I'll come back to that. This is interesting here.
Tron Ares. First look revealed by Jared. The old Jared. The cult
Jared
leader of
Leto or
Shire.
Leto. You choose what you want. You go Leto, you go Roman, and that's probably he probably like that. But
No.
there's not
I
much
won't
here.
I won't give him that dignity. I
Yeah.
refuse. He's Leto.
Well, there's not much going on here. All they're just he's excited about it.
That's a good image though.
He sent out
That
this
looks good.
image,
Yeah.
and Disney's making a new Tron. So that's all we know. Nothing else. There's
Yep.
no other rumors or anything like that. Just that Jared Leto is part of it, and he sent this shot out, which he obviously got permission to do. But
Yep.
do we need more Tron?
No. No.
I'm
But if it's good, I'll take
Yeah, I mean the first movie was kind of a generational film because of what it did. The second
Yep.
movie gets a lot of crap, but it's actually not that bad.
I think it's good. I really
Yeah,
like Tron Legacy. To be honest with you, I don't know why it gets so much crap.
yeah,
Um,
it's not bad. Jared Leto, you know, people have a real hate on this guy, and I kind of get it. He is a cult leader and all that kind of stuff. But I've seen him in one movie total, I think. I don't think I've seen any of his other movies. I saw Morbius. and
Yeah.
people hated that movie, but I actually rather like it. It's a bit of a guilty pleasure for me because I think people misunderstood what they were doing with that movie. That is a throwback to the 60s sci-fi, dude. That's what that is. It's full on 60s sci-fi. And
And it
I
also
like
has a half-naked dancing doctor in it, so there's that.
there's that. That's right. But no, I kind of dig the movie. Is there any other movie that I might have seen that he's in? Anything?
He played if you watched, Zack Snyder's Justice League, correct?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, he played, the Joker in that, I
All right, he was the Joker. That's true. Okay. And I didn't care for that character. So there's
no.
that. Let me go to his IMDb here and take a look and
There, he
see.
can be your Aquarian. Look at him, he looks just like him. Come
And
on.
he has a god complex as well. So,
It's
kind of
perfect.
perfect. Let's see here. What has this kid been in? Because I did see him as the Joker, but he was just a cameo character, let's be fair. Let's see, Rebel Highway. I don't recognize any of these movies. Urban Legend.
A
He
lot
was
of
in
junk.
that, huh? Oh yeah, no, he was in that. Yeah, I do remember his face. He had short hair. He's a pretty boy. In that I remember Fight Club. Huh.
He's a side
Yep.
character, yeah.
Thin Red Line, movie I have seen. American Psycho. Oh yeah, I didn't bring this story up, but they're talking about remaking it
Yeah,
for modern audiences, and it's like they already did that with Mila Kunis. Kunis, is that her name?
yeah.
And everyone
Yeah.
hated it,
Well,
because
somebody suggested they do, old Glenn Howerton, Dennis from Always Sunny to play him in the modern iteration, and I said, "Yep, he'll kill." He needs to. The fact that that man has not played the Joker in a big budget movie yet
right.
is criminal.
Yeah,
It's
but they
criminal.
they specifically said for a modern audience, so it's not going to be a white man. It's going to be a black woman, probably. But the thing
Maybe a
is,
black lesbian.
maybe, but
She
they
can't fight
don't
men.
understand this film at all. It's clear they
Yeah,
don't get it. Now, in American Psycho, Christian Bale does not kill a single person.
yeah, he's psycho. His
He
mind's
is
gone.
literally a
Crazy.
psycho. A psycho. He's crazy.
Yeah,
This is his imagination. There is no actual murders in the movie at all. And
yes,
that's
sir.
the point. He's going through a mental breakdown. That's the whole point of the film. And so many people like that, the remake they made was just a serial killer movie. It's like, dude, you freaking missed the whole point.
It's one of the crazy thing about American Psycho is it's one of those movies that when it came out, nobody cared. But later, people went back and watched it, and they picked up on what you're talking about. That well, wait a minute, there's actually more going on here
Oh yeah.
than we
And
thought.
Christian killed it, dude. Yeah.
Of course he did. He pretty much always does.
I mean, he did kill it.
Where's he been? What happened to Christian Bale? He just
He
kind of
he yelled at
stopped.
someone on set and
Well,
he got canceled for it.
Oh
So this
boy.
kid is in a bunch of movies. You're right.
he
He's playing
he
big
played in a
parts.
shitty Marvel movie and went into hiding
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
because
he's
he
yeah, that
was
was a
mainly
terrible
side
fiasco.
characters, huh? That's what he is. He's mainly side
Yeah.
characters.
Well, he's
Um,
a musician too. Like he's
yeah,
a
and a
big,
cult leader. That's an important thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's busy. He's got things to do,
he is
right?
busy, cult leaders and all. But I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't have anything particularly against him other than his. But then again, his culty things that he do, it's just to get laid, and he's not messing around with little girls. He
Yeah,
likes
at
the
least the full
women's.
grown adult
He
women.
likes
Yeah,
women's.
that's
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah,
Listen,
it's
if you want to
fine.
start a cult, go on. Just be honest with what you're doing. You're starting a sex cult. All right, cool.
Yeah, fine. And he's pretty boy. I get
yeah,
it.
do like Chester did and get a whole fucking sex mountain.
That's
Do it the
damn
right
Yeah,
right.
way.
he's got a whole
Damn right.
mountain, sex mountain. Yeah.
Solutions, baby. But no, I mean, I don't really have a big deal because I've seen some of his stuff and his cult stuff, and these are all adult people, and it's just a sex cult. It's whatever. Like I said, if he was actually hurting people, if he was stealing people's money or any of that kind of nonsense that happens, that would be an issue. But none of that is happening. None of it. It's just like a hippie commune is the thing he's doing. He's not stealing from anyone. Matter of fact, it sounds like he's quite charitable with the people and tries to help them out. He puts his money into his group, right? So I don't have a problem with the culty aspect of Jared Leto.
Chester's looking up tickets right now.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, there's a way to do a cult, and then there's a way not to do a cult, right? So
Well, he also makes sure he does it in countries that don't care. They're
Oh
not
yeah,
going to
sure.
Waco him over there. It's
Well,
not going to happen. So,
I hate to be the bearer of bad news to you gentlemen, but in the United States of America, would you like to guess how many cults are operating at this very
oh
moment?
God,
200,
too many, too many.
200, too many. Yeah, that's a,
200
very
easily.
innocuous of you. 200 easy. Well, the correct answer there, Grimlock, is 10,000.
Yeah,
Not
a lot.
surprised.
There's a lot of people in America.
Hmm.
One, and a lot of people who are looking for answers to questions they don't even know they have, and dangerous, predatory people, manipulative people, typically very empathic people, but they use it for evil.
Oh, they do.
Take
Oh,
advantage of
usually,
it.
but not always. Not all
Yeah,
cults are actually bad. Um,
that's
there
true.
are some that are good. Alpha Pro
That's true.
says the cult of Busby. Well, I could use my powers for evil, but I choose not to
Uh-oh.
because Superman
He's
is
chosen.
my
He's
guiding
chosen the
light.
light.
I have.
Yeah,
I have.
that's right.
Because one problem I have all the time, and I know you guys are just going to mock and make jokes of it, and please do make it
Uh-oh.
funny though. Um,
Yeah.
I have a problem with women. My wife calls me just calls me the magnet, right?
Yeah.
Or the Bonchon magnet. I have this problem all the freaking time. Just this weekend, right? My poor wife. I go out. I go to this like yeah, it's a mall basically. And I go to this nice clothing store and I buy myself a nice hat. Right, I'd seen it a
Mhm.
few weeks ago and I decided I'm going to buy it. So I went to did it, buy it. We had a simple little lunch and got some supplies and went back home. But I have this problem all the time. I went in. There's like a middle-aged lady behind the counter, and she looks up. She says, "Oh, kakui," and she starts asking says, "Oh, your husband, he's so handsome." She said, she started asking my wife questions. Where did you meet him? And all these kind of things like that. And my wife is very quick to, she answers, "Well, we met in Taiwan and yada yada yada." But I get this crap all the freaking time, dude. And my poor wife has to deal with it. I mean, my wife's right there, but she is flirting with me hardcore, and she does not care that my wife is standing right next to me, right next to me. Right? So you make a joke about the cult of Busby, but dude, I could do that shit.
So to alleviate this problem,
Gaijin hunters.
Chester decided to buy a sex mountain.
Yeah,
Uh,
Yes.
yeah, that's right.
that
It's the solution. It's technically
that
fertility,
was
but
the
I'll just go
grand
with it.
plan.
Yeah,
Well, what's fertility for, Chester?
close
Come
enough.
on now.
Close enough. But it's funny. My poor wife though, dude. Because like I know you guys are gonna meme it and joke about it, but I'm actually not joking at this particular second. Um, uh,
What's weird is
but my poor
it's
wife
Wait,
funny
is.
you say that
wait. I
because
gotta know
even
now. Who gets the
oh,
sex? Who gets the sex mountain in your will?
Oh, my son, of course. Yeah.
he's got to caretake it. He's got to
That's not
keep it.
a that's
He's
not
got
a
to
not a that's not a
erect full
question.
shrines to
Yeah.
the sex god that was his father.
What were you trying to say, Thunder?
uh, I don't remember. Oh, I remember. It's funny because I grew up, like I said, I grew up in a pretty Protestant, very Baptist church, and I always had that same effect on older women as well. Even when I was, a younger man, I was still
It
going to
is
church in
usually
my
older
early
women.
20s.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true.
Yeah, and they, for whatever reason, it was like flies on shit. They were just flocking to me, and it was constant. It was a little uncomfortable sometimes. I mean, I was, especially in my early 20s, I was in pretty good shape, but uh, yeah, it's a problem because
It is. Yeah.
as much as society likes to pretend, and Hollywood especially likes to pretend that a lot that these women aren't out here and I use this term jokingly,
Hunting.
predatory as
Yeah.
men. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
hunting. They're hunting. They are,
Yeah.
especially when they get older and they don't, especially if they don't feel as pretty as they once were, or any of these things. Right? They're a little insecure. Yeah, yeah. Cougars are real,
They
folks.
are
They
real.
are real.
And I think part of it is I'm just super calm. I'm
Well, you're
extremely
also a giant of
I'm
a man. A
confident and
giant,
I do have this kind of animal thing going on.
giant man.
And women like that. But
They're like, oh, Neanderthal. Look at him. There he is,
yeah.
right there.
I
Brow's
it,
a little smaller than I thought, but
Yeah, but I actually had an experience the other day. I felt real bad for the guy because all I'm doing, the dude, I'm sitting down and I'm eating a Subway sandwich, literally the company Subway. right? I'm sitting down in this huge food court, eating my Subway sandwich, minding my own damn business, right?
Yeah.
My wife's actually in front of me, and behind her is a table, and it had some young 20 somethings, right? And clearly you had this they had this guy and girl, which their backs were to me, but they're clearly a couple. She was always touching him, messing with his hair. They're a couple, right? And you had the guy's buddy and her friend, her girlfriend, and they were trying to hook him up. You could instantly see what was going on, right? And the ones who were trying to be hooked up were literally leaning away from each other, which is sad in and of itself. But I did notice she laughed at some joke he had made or something like that. But the whole damn time, she keeps staring at me. And when because I wear sunglasses, but when I kind of move my head slightly toward her, she'd move away so as if to hide that she's looking at me the whole damn time. And she was a younger girl, which I don't get much attention from them. But I just felt so bad for that dude, man. He's on a date. His friends, his friend and his girlfriend are trying to hook him up. They're trying to help him out, but the whole damn time she's just sitting there staring at me, and
You
it's
should
like,
have fucked with him.
yeah,
You
but
should
I
have took
felt
your
bad for the
you
dude,
should have
man.
took your sunglasses off real slow, like 80s movie
Oh
style,
yeah, yeah.
and then then wink at her and then slowly put them back on
You just kind of
and
bring him
just go
down
back
just
to
enough
English.
so you can see the eye. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
Just
But I did feel bad for the dude. That sucks, man. I didn't do a damn thing. I was eating a frickin' sandwich.
Very
she's like,
sexually,
look at that
apparently.
kaiju eat that sandwich.
No, I
Look at that
actually keep
kaiju
my
would
I
eat me
don't
like
chew
that
with my
sandwich.
mouth open. I found that very socially disrespectful.
Well, yes, Chester. You're not a
Do
bovine.
you?
What are you doing?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, Alpha, I know the difference between I want to practice English with you and I want to fuck you. There are differences in the look. It's subtle, but you do learn
No,
to pick it up, after the age of 13 or so. Um,
listen.
Mhm.
mhm.
English can
I
be a
see.
very
I see.
sexual language.
I see the maple chic shares your problem. He's out there giving that maple syrup to them women up there.
Mhm. Mhm.
Takeout joint.
Mhm. I don't know, dude. But it's my poor wife, man. Um, anyway, let's see here. New trailers. I thought we'd take a look for the end of the show, if you don't mind.
5 pounds of pressure.
Oh no, that's just the one that has all the digest. That doesn't look so good. Let's take a look what we got here. These are just added. We got Grey's Anatomy season
Oh
20.
my
That
god, that
how
show is
how
still going.
how?
Women. Women.
Woo.
I guess I watched a couple episodes when it came out well, I should guess 20 years ago, and I was like, yeah, that's not interesting. I never realized it would last this long. Good for them though, dude. No, good for the actors on this. They've made a name for themselves, I'm sure, by the fans of Grey's Anatomy. They've all become famous. So good for them, dude.
Yeah.
Hacks, I have no idea. It's a season. It said so. It's a new show. Don't know. 911 season 7. What's that? It's on Hulu. Anybody?
Some
I
sort
think
of
that
rescue
was a
show.
show on Fox.
What's it about?
Don't know.
Looks kind of
I've seen it.
spacey.
I've seen it advertised it, but I've
Huh.
never watched it.
I don't know about Davy and Jonesy's locker. It's a joke. Okay.
They're clever.
Strictly confidential. Lesbians. Okay. Chicken for Linda. I don't know.
Okay.
Iron Rain. Ooh, that sounds tough. Dude, I'm so not interested in Ghostbusters. Isn't that a shame?
And you know what's crazy? We watched the trailer for that popped up before Dune, and I was sitting there. I'm thinking, it's about this ice demon creature, basically. Okay. They had it right there, Chester. They called it Frozen Empire. That's terrible. Literally in the trailer, one of them says the threat that this creature poses is to bring about another ice age. Why the fuck didn't they just call it Ghostbusters Ice Age?
Uh, yeah, but I'm just so not
Overthinking it.
interested. I think what it is that, and of course, Egon made this comment very clearly in the first movie. I don't want kids in my Ghostbuster. I don't want
Correct.
kids involved. I
I
want
agree.
adult people. Now, I don't mind if they throw some, in modern times, throw some ladies in there, or I don't care about any of that. But I don't want kids in my Ghostbuster. I don't want it. And Egon was very clear. Proton packs are not for children. He was very clear. Yeah.
Correct.
And you're right, Ben. That show did come out when you were here in Japan. That Grey's Anatomy. We might even watched a couple of them over at Tom's house, right? I think Tom. That was one of the shows that Tom wanted to watch. It was It wasn't bad, but it was like whatever. Another because they used to have our friend Tom. He's super liberal, by the way. You think Ben's liberal? You ain't seen nothing, right? But
Chester, you're flocked around by liberals. What's going on over there, bud?
I know. I do have a lot of them around me.
You
That's
need to
true.
repel those people. They
Yeah.
smell
No,
funny or
I
something.
mean they're not. These are more traditional liberals, dude. These are not these woke
Because
progressive crap.
Chester has to have harems of everything. He
I
just can't
do.
have
That's
one.
true.
He
That's
collects
Has to
true.
have
things. He's
I do.
basically a
harems of
Pokemon
old
trainer.
Japanese women, harem of old white liberal men.
For some reason,
He's
these
got some
keep
black.
coming
That's true.
together.
He's got some black people hitting on that sex mountain. I just know it.
That's true. Ben says
So
when
you
we
don't
weren't
need just
watching Gay
one.
Cowboys, he actually had a watch party for Brokeback Mountain. I remember that, and that was such a
Oh God.
dumbass movie.
Oh
Oh
Lord
my
in
God,
heaven.
another thing they used to love, and I wasn't interested at all, was Sex in the City.
Watch a
Oh,
watch party for
Watch
Brokeback
party.
Mountain. Did that
They
require you wearing assless chaps with oil?
No, although I offered. Um, uh, but no, but Tom used to have watch parties for stuff, and actually those are fun. You're just getting together with a bunch of friends watching something. It's cool, right?
yep.
But yeah, that is true, man. I remember that. Let's see here. So yeah, it's sad, but I just have no interest in Ghostbusters. The Beautiful Game. All right, that's a good actor in there. The Bike Riders. They ride bikes. That's just season 2 even, so that's exciting. Snow White.
Trailer too.
Yeah,
Trailer.
Snow White and the Seven Samurai. That's B. That's a B
Uh,
movie. That's a definitely B movie.
uh,
Yeah.
okay.
Sounds
Yeah.
like a Korean movie.
It might be. That's another thing I'm missing out on because there are the Koreans. Of course, they put out crap just like everybody else, but they are trying. But I just can't stand the sound of Korean. It irritates me.
You got
Um,
to get the dub, Chester. You got to get
yeah,
the dub.
but I'm also against that, right? Let's see here.
Your
The
elitism is causing you to miss out on good
It
films, Chester.
is, sir. Some kind of CG animation. My kids will never watch it. Dune Part 2, not interested. The Watchers. M. Night Shyamalan, right?
Yes. It's very M. Night Shyamalan.
Well, Night or Shyamalan, or I don't know, what just call him Night. Okay. Is this his daughter? Oh, it's his daughter wrote and is directing. He's supporting her. That's nice. But the thing with Shyamalan is, I mean, he's got some good ideas, but boy, he seems so out of touch. Because there's a couple movies he's made that are fantastic, but then there's so many things that are so close, right? Freaking Shyamalan. I'm gonna watch it. Let's see here. Let's see what Shyamalan. Maybe his daughter would be better than him.
One could hope.
Oh, let me fix this real quick.
Hopefully they don't kick us off.
Oh well, I'm just going to put it over
What
here
is
so I
this?
can hear it. Oh, that's loud. Sorry about that. All right, let me see here. All right, so we got a record player, New Line Cinema. Okay. Well, he's boring like her father. So okay. It's in French. God. Okay, we're watching grass grow, literally. All right. Mirrors are a thing. Yeah. Okay.
What is this place? Who are you?
Oh
We're just
God.
like you. Lost.
We're lost like you. You're lost. Okay.
They come every night.
They come every night and they
They
steal
watch
my
us until the
peaches.
sun rises again.
You gotta watch
It's a
the
window
peach.
on the other side.
Wow. Does this look boring or what? Look, mirrors can do stuff. Visual effects.
They'll be very interested in someone new.
Huh. Okay.
What is What are they
You
doing?
got creepy monstery sounds.
Applause. For you, Mina.
Applause. I think I want that. I've heard applause before. Okay, Wicker Man vibes going on here. All right. Okay. All those kind of occult imagery. Good job. Good job, M. Night.
Don't you want to know what they are?
No, not really.
That's impossible.
Okay.
Snatched.
I don't know. What do you think, Grimlock? Does that look interesting to you at all?
Not in the slightest.
Yeah, me either. How about you, Thundero?
No, no, it's very
Yeah,
boring.
it's very
Very boring. All,
European.
all that lead up to some twist that they don't. That just like most M Night Shyamalan projects, he thinks is far more impactful than it is because he
Yeah,
got it right like once,
or
and ever
twice.
since
Yeah,
then he's been chasing that dragon,
yeah,
and he just can't seem to catch it.
yeah. I mean, one of the movies was really good, but it had nothing to do with him. It was just McAvoy being McAvoy. But
Yeah,
Star Trek Discovery season 5. That show's still going on. Has anyone
still
watched that?
going. They
No, I think
insist
this is the last
on it.
one, or it's already been canceled.
Yeah, no, I did talk about Stargate coming back, but we don't have any information yet. You're right. I have no idea. I know that old Kevin Costner here has been getting a lot of crap for this Horizon movie because it's actually talking about the truth of settlers coming into the Midwest and how
Mm,
absolutely horrible and brutal it was, particularly the frickin' Indians, right?
yeah,
Well, the
not
Comanche
allowed
and
to talk.
things like that.
Not allowed
But
to
yeah,
talk about
you're
that
not
either.
allowed to talk about it, so he's getting a lot of nonsense. These people are so dumb. They're going about and the Indians are noble, proud peoples. Really?
Uh huh.
You don't
Yeah.
think every
Mm,
human group in the planet doesn't have evil shitheads amongst them? Is
As
that
they
you?
scalped and ate people in the
Oh, dude,
thousands.
there were so many, particularly in that region up north toward the north. You had the Pawnee, and down in the south you had the Comanche. And understand that all the other Indians in the area hated their ass, hated
Yeah.
them with a
Wanted nothing to do with them.
passion.
Yeah.
The Comanche particularly were extremely brutal. They were originally part of the Shoshone. They kicked them out, right? Just keep that in mind. But the frickin' Comanche were so brutal and destructive to everything, not just the settlers, but Indians too. That the Apache people, and they're badasses, right? We hear about the Apache and how tough they are,
Yeah.
right? Right?
Yeah.
Geronimo and all that kind of stuff. But they had such a hard time dealing with Comanches. They lied to Christian missions, saying we want to be baptized and become Christians. And of course the Christian was like, oh, that's wonderful. And they built a fort to come over and do that. Of course, it was a complete lie by the Apache. What they wanted was the priests to get killed, which they were, so that the American military would come out and kick the ass out of the Comanche, which they did, right?
Hard.
And I mean that's what the Apache did. That happened. That's
Hey,
real.
listen. They played the game and they won.
They
Right?
did. They did.
They won.
But I mean, I'm talking about you killing all these damn Indians. Some of those Indians needed killing.
Yeah. Most of them, in fact,
Yeah.
if we're being honest. The ones that were
Brutal.
left were by and large the winners, and the winners were savages. They were brutal.
They were
Um,
bad, dude. Really bad stuff. I mean, I can't really talk about it on YouTube. It's that bad, right?
yeah, it's the worst of the worst possible stuff you can think of.
Yeah,
And
it's
they were
bad.
doing it ritualistically
Hmm.
all over the place.
Yeah, and to
Uh,
everyone, including other
yeah,
Indians. Yeah.
yeah, they didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Chester, I forgot what. Oh, I know what I was going to say. It's a shame that with all of our modern technology and everything, the scope we could actually do, because if you go read, and I'm sure you have,
Mm,
anybody in the chat here, if you read some of the actual accounts from the generals, whatnot, the colonels, and everybody who waged the Indian Wars, these battles were monstrous in scope.
mm,
They were humongous. They were the biggest battles you probably ever heard of in many ways. And yet we don't talk. It's like they never even happened. They've been
yeah.
stricken largely from American history. We're not allowed to talk about them because
Yeah.
apparently the bad guys won. Us, I guess. I don't know.
I suppose.
Uh, but how awesome would it be to
Hmm.
have a series of films called the Indian Wars or Manifest Destiny or whatever. Call it whatever you want to call it, and it was about
Oh,
that.
Manifest Destiny would piss them off. That
Oh
would be
yeah,
great. Do that. But
We have Mel Gibson directed.
yeah,
it
please. Oh, that was your
it
genius, Grimlock. You get 10 points. Um,
it'd be
but
great. It'd
but
be great.
it would
It's
be great. But keep in mind, these books from general stuff are interesting, but also you can read accounts of people who survived some of these Indian raids, who were held
that's true.
hostage for years by not just men, women who
Yeah,
survived, right?
bad,
The
actual bad bitches out here.
Yeah, and keep in mind, like the Parker raid is one of there's been many books written about that one, and that's once again with the Comanche. But there's a lot of things been written about that, including some of the survivors. The Parker raid, there's some really interesting information. But yeah, maybe this will be good. I mean, Kevin can make a good movie. He's capable.
Oh yeah,
He is
let's
capable,
have him.
but it sounds like he's doing something that's very true to history. Therefore they hate it. It might be good. Might be good. Maybe I should watch the trailer. Let's watch the trailer. Let's go ahead. Let's do that.
Check it out.
Check it out. Okay. Territory pictures. That's a bit on the nose. All right.
You and I are standing guard on one of the last great open spaces.
That is fair statement. Looks beautiful. Look at that.
These people think
American
they're
West
tough
is
enough,
something special. It
smart
really is.
enough, and mean enough.
Never gone and seen it.
All this will be
You got to
there
get out there and go
someday.
look at it. Just go look at it.
It is beautiful. Yeah.
There's no army of this earth that's going to stop those wagons coming. Little as
That's
they're
true.
wanted.
Oh, Kevin. To be fair though, I mean, with the incoming of the wagon trains and people migrating, Manifest Destiny, which was mentioned just a bit ago, um, I get the Indians being pissed off about it. I mean, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
get that.
We are now. It's happening right now to us,
It is
and we're not
happening
very
to us.
happy about it.
No. But then again, you got to keep in mind that a lot of these settlers weren't looking for trouble. Right? Some of them were. I probably get kicked off YouTube for this. There's a certain group, they call themselves the Mormons. They did some real bad shit. And not necessarily just to the Indians. That any white person around them, if they, this is true, you can look it up. They would just happily kill the man, but they take them women though, didn't they?
Yeah,
Yeah. Am I
yeah.
allowed to say that?
You're not
Well, you just
supposed
did.
to.
I just did. Let's see what Kevin's got for us here.
Oh, Kev.
He's really been on the road with the Western stuff since Yellowstone.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of Western things. I'm cool with it.
Yeah, they're trying. They're trying to bring back westerns to replace,
It's alright.
superheroes,
I'm
basically.
gonna be with Dad. No.
Which is what I
Still
said.
haven't
They
checked
would
out that Ass Reeves show.
I wouldn't mind
The
checking that
problem-
out. Yeah, that one's legitimate too, because he was a black dude, right?
Yeah.
Bad.
But are they going to make him as badass as he actually was, though? I
All
wonder.
I'm trying
Prob-
to do
prob-
I hope.
as many of us as I
Just like we'll
can,
never get a proper
as far
Harriet
as I
Tubman.
can.
That just won't happen. Because she's way too, conservative. They won't let that happen.
Yeah, that's true.
Just like we would never get a
Just
proper
like
Sam
to have a
depiction
drink
of
tonight
Sam
with
Adams.
someone that knows
because
how to
he's
act.
brutal.
I don't know if
Real
that was
Sam
supposed to be an Apache, or I think these look like Apache. The Apache were more actual just people. I mean, they would
Yeah, they
fight
were-
hard,
they
but
were
they
just-
were more people. They
Word
weren't
for
like
it.
the
Full
Comanches.
measure of this, Mary. I know the man I met was on his way to kill everyone in that house. He might as well have been walking up to get the mail for all it bothered him.
All right. Huh. Old Kevin came in on a Western.
Build, they will
Right.
burn down.
Yep. He's
To be
been
honest with you,
repping
pretty good.
westerns for a
Oh,
while.
it looks beautiful.
Doesn't.
If nothing else, it looks great.
Kev's getting
The
old.
dude just got
though.
the shit kicked out
Yeah,
of him.
but there are roles for that, though, right?
Yeah, especially in
Yeah.
Western.
Especially in westerns. The old.
Look at him riding that horse, though. Look at him go.
Yeah.
Use that much this year?
Haven't had much need of it yet.
And it brings back to your earlier conversation, Chester. You can go out and get a leather
Like we got
duster.
ourselves a bad man
Yeah,
right here.
yeah, fair enough. I don't know, maybe. I mean, like I said, he did come in on a western. I mean, Dances with
Yeah.
Wolves, whatever, no matter what you think of Kevin Costner, is a good movie.
You know what?
Yeah.
Now I got the image in my head. We can have you in a western
Yeah,
with a leather duster.
yeah.
But you're not riding a horse. Man. We got to get you an animal that does you justice. You're riding a bison.
A buffalo. Yeah, no, I should be on the buffalo. You're
Riding
right.
around
A
on a
white
buffalo.
one in particular.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're the new High
Yeah.
Plains Drifter. That's it. It's decided.
Oh, what a great movie.
Really,
Pale Rider is I feel almost like a remake of High Plains Drifter in a way.
it is.
But
Similar.
I mean, I do like me some High Plains Drifter, but Pale Rider is so epically awesome, dude. I
Oh,
mean,
Yeah.
and Sandaro, since you mentioned it earlier, we're not going to get a Sam Adams movie, but what we should get, and I would love this because I want to see the world burn, is we get a Sam Jackson movie. You know the old Dave Chappelle bit.
Yeah.
Instead of Sam Adams, it's Sam Jackson, but you have Dave Chappelle playing Sam Jackson, who's playing Sam Adams. Just lean all the way into it.
it could
We
be.
could have a beautiful revolutionary black exploitation movie. The likes
Good.
have never been seen.
Well, Sam Adams was a firecracker. Let's be honest.
Well,
This thing
it's
says
interesting
Irish whiz.
because
What for whiskey?
yeah, it's interesting because the military in America is having a serious problem with
Oh
recruiting,
yeah, they are. Yeah.
especially of their typical stock, the rural white men. They're just not interested. They're good. Uh, so it's very interesting that we haven't seen Hollywood pivot to Americana, which that's usually what happens. Whenever this problem happens, all of a sudden everything gets real American again, real fucking American.
Yeah, yeah.
Like we had at the early 2000s, where we had multiple super patriotic, movies and whatnot. So it's very interesting that hasn't happened yet. Maybe it's coming. We just haven't seen it yet. But it could be pretty cool. I'm thinking about this Sam Adams idea if they did a whole series called Sons of Liberty, and it was just about the Sons of Liberty, because most people have no idea the shenanigans those men got up to. They
Yeah.
were a menace,
They
an
were.
absolute menace.
They were terrorists, really.
Yes.
Alpha Proto says, after the Rust murders, I have a feeling all blanks will be digital. Well, the Rust situation, particular, that's a very easy situation to avoid. It's super, super, super simple. Don't
Yep.
bring actual bullets to your movie.
No,
Why
don't
are there
let
bullets?
Alec Baldwin have a gun. That's the simple solution.
Well, that
That's
would
also a
be.
good idea.
But I'm
Yeah,
just
that's
saying
not
that there have
seems
been
smart.
accidents with blanks. I mean, Brandon Lee, for instance, there have been accidents on set, but they're not involving real bullets. That
Yeah.
one is so avoidable. Why are there any real bullets anywhere near your site? There's no need for it. There's no need. That was an absolute ridiculous. Avatar, I have to get off of here, but Avatar, I don't know about it. Maybe. Damsel, this is just, screw you, man. Okay, whatever. Civil
Don't
War,
need no man.
literally, the gays are going to win and defeat the Texans. So you go, gays.
Yeah.
That's
Good luck.
literally what that movie is, just so you know.
Luck.
It's funny that white liberals for years was mocking conservatives about when you remember the Boogaloo was a meme,
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
and they tried mocking people, conservatives, over it, even though it was something way beyond just conservatives. And then they come out with this shit right here.
Yeah, Civil War.
You want to talk about some bullshit? You want to talk about the Boogaloo? And then you come out with this masturbatory bullshit?
It is bad, dude. It is bad.
But
Yeah,
a,
it is bad.
a bunch of anti-gun sissies is gonna save the West. Get
Yeah.
the fuck out of here.
Yeah, that's
You
exactly
you
what
have
it is.
you have a better chance of getting some felons out of out of freaking New York. You got a better chance of taking 10 freaking felons out of a New York State prison, making them the real Suicide Squad, and them saving America before that shit actually.
Yeah. But anyway, There it is. There's not a lot to see. Some of you guys probably will go see the Dune thing. Good for you. I'm not interested, but there are a couple movies there maybe I'll check out. Nevertheless, thank you guys all very much. Keep in mind that in a couple days we are continuing the fifth edition saga in Iron Pass, and of course we'll also be doing some art on the Thursday show. Nevertheless, thank you very much, Grimlock and Thundero, and Thundero takes out of here, man.
Chester, just quick and brief. The master is not the one who completes his training. Master is the one who stops.
Namaste. Later, everybody.